Chapter 1201. It was sealed. Sima Yue was speechless as she looked at the large black dog. He wanted it only because of its strength. Now that its strength was gone, did he have to kill it? Red Flame saw through her thoughts and said, "You can't kill it either." "Why? If it's really sealed by the heavenly Tao, then it's immortal." Qian explained, "Unless it commits suicide, it won't die. Only by breaking the seal can an external force kill it." Sima Yue seemed to understand and said, "Is this the so-called restriction and protection?" "Something like that." Qian said, "So what do you plan to do?" "This is a little tricky." Sima Yue said, "Is it possible for this guy to break the seal in the future?" "Maybe, maybe not. We can't predict that." Qian said, "Those people are coming over. You should make a decision as soon as possible." Sima Yue focused and indeed heard the sound of those people approaching. Only then did she notice that the tribulation cloud had already left. "Yue, are you okay?" Sima Lu Yun and the others flew over. When they saw Sima Yue in the pit, they were surprised at her current state. "You weren't struck by lightning?" Sima Lu Feng saw that she didn't have any injuries at all as he asked in shock. "I'm fine." Sima Yue stood up and said, "The tribulation cloud is busy today. It doesn't have time to strike me. It's good that you're fine." Sima Lu Yun and his brother heaved a sigh of relief. They were so worried just now. Deja and the Ghost Master came later because they were afraid of the power of the lightning punishment. Seeing that Sima Yue was fine, they were relieved. "Cousin, did the lightning tribulation really not strike you?" Sima Yue nodded. Seeing that there were only 5 of them and no one else, she asked, "Where are the others?" "Eldest Elder and the others are taking care of those Gu clansmen. The Gu clansmen wanted to take advantage of the chaos to escape." Sima Lu Yun continued. "Looking at them, they won't be able to come over anytime soon." "That's great. We can discuss this matter." Sima Yue said. "What's wrong? Did Blood Devil not die?" Di Lu asked. Sima Yue shrugged and glanced at the guy on the ground. "He's not dead, but he's sealed." Everyone present was knowledgeable. Once she said that, everyone understood what was going on. "If I can't kill him, should I just let him go? It's impossible to deal with it so casually." Sima Lu Yun continued. "If it were to break the seal one day, the entire world would be in danger. Then what should we do? Keep it with me all the time? That's not realistic. They couldn't possibly do nothing every day and just watch this fellow." Sima Lu Feng glanced at Deja and said, "Why don't you form a contract with it?" "No." Before Deja could say anything, the Ghost Master rejected him. "Isn't this a dark spirit beast? Why can't I form a contract?" Sima Lu Feng didn't understand. Although this blood demon has been sealed, who knows when the seal will be lifted? It's fine if it's willing to recognize Master as its master. If it's not willing, it'll backfire on the contract. I don't need to tell you how dangerous it will be for Master." Ghost Master said. No matter what, he wouldn't agree to this suggestion. "This won't work. That won't work. What should we do with this big black dog?" "That, I wanted to form a contract with it." "Why don't I form a contract with it?" Sima Yue continued. "Even if it regains its strength one day, it won't be a threat to me." Everyone was silent. They knew that she could attract lightning and had the vermilion bird. Letting her form a contract with it should be the best way. "Will it be dangerous?" Deja was still worried. Little Purple said that it can suppress the blood demon. "It should be fine." Sima Yue said. "No wonder Lin said that you would save the world." Sima Lu Feng sighed. Sima Yue went to form a contract before those people came. "I hope that this matter won't spread." Crimson Flame looked at them. "You humans are too complicated. If they know about this, I'm afraid it will bring her trouble. And she doesn't have the time and energy to deal with this. We naturally understand this." Sima Lu Yun continued. "We will tell everyone that the blood demon has been destroyed by the lightning." "That's good." Sima Yue came to the blood demon's side and placed her hand on its body. She injected dark spirit energy into its body. Woo! The blood demon opened its eyes and looked at her. Its big eyes were clean and pure. It looked like a pure and kind spirit beast. One couldn't tell that it was an existence that could destroy heaven and earth. Sima Yue touched its hair and said, "Be good. Follow me. We'll eat RR together." Woo! The blood demon whimpered. She didn't know if it was responding to her. She used the method of forming a contract with Little Dream to form a contract with the blood demon. She didn't know if it was because it was sealed. Although the contract was successful, her strength didn't increase. Woo-woo. The power of the contract healed the wounds on the blood demon's body. Its hair became brighter and more energetic. Woo-woo. The blood demon ran to her side. It rubbed its head against her body and acted coquettishly. Sima Yue thought about the way it killed people. Although she couldn't see it clearly, it still gave her a horrifying feeling. Looking at its current appearance, it was hard to link the two together. After a while, the people from the Sima family came over. Sima Yue just finished her contract and was playing with the blood demon. The blood demon has been killed. Eldest Elder asked. Yes, it has been destroyed by the lightning. Sima Luyun said. Really? Eldest Elder glanced at the blood demon who was playing with Sima Yue. He had some doubts in his heart. Then, he dismissed the idea. Such a cute spirit beast. It shouldn't be the blood demon. And it didn't have any spirit energy fluctuation. It didn't have that terrifying aura just now. Yue, are you okay? He looked at Sima Yue with concern. Sima Yue glanced at him faintly. She said indifferently, I'm fine. Thank you for your concern. Eldest Elder was a little embarrassed. She spoke so warmly to Sima Lu Feng and the rest. She spoke so coldly to him. He was the clan's eldest elder. Sima Yue saw that he was standing beside her without moving. She said, Is there anything, eldest elder? Nothing. Eldest elder smiled again. Why don't I see your contract, beast? Are you talking about Crimson Flame? He's a little tired. He went back to rest. Sima Yue said, But Qing Yi wants to see you. Qing Yi? Was it the Tree of Life? The people from the Sima family were happy. Were they? With a thought, Qing Yi appeared in front of everyone. Before they could speak, Qing Yi waved his hand. A ray of light flashed into everyone's body. What are you doing? Eldest Elder shouted. He didn't know what entered his body. Chapter 1202. You don't have to worry. This is just a restriction that I placed on you. Qing Yi said, This restriction usually doesn't affect you at all, but once you want to talk about me, the restriction will be activated. The first time, you won't be able to do it. The second time, it will take your lives. The expressions of the great elder and the others changed again and again. Was this really them? I can't tell anyone. Someone asked. You can't tell anyone. Qing Yi glanced at Sima Yue after he finished speaking, and Sima Yue kept him back into the spirit pagoda. She then said to Sima Lu Feng, Uncle Lu Yun, Uncle Lu Feng, since there's nothing else here, I'll leave with my cousin first. Aren't you guys coming with us? The Grand Elder asked. No, we still have things to do. Sima Yue rejected directly. What's the matter? Can we help? The Great Elder asked with a smile. It's so dangerous here, and there are so few of you. It's too dangerous. That's fine. Sima Yue said. This is our business. We can't implicate you. Don't worry. You're a member of the Sima family. The family will naturally share your burden, the Great Elder said. Sima Yue sneered in her heart. She was from the Sima family? She had never thought of that. Great Elder, you must be joking. I'm not a member of the Sima family. I'm just someone from the lower continent. How would I dare to claim connections with the Sima family? Don't you think I don't deserve your praise? The blood of the Sima family flows in your veins. You're a member of the Sima family. The Great Elder said firmly, no matter what happened in the past, the bloodline in your body cannot be changed. Really? I heard that someone wanted to kill me. Sima Yue said, if they're from the same family, shouldn't they love each other? Who dares to kill you? I'll definitely report to the family head and find out all those people. The Great Elder said, not yet, but I heard that when I was a baby, I almost lost my life a few times after I returned home. Great Elder, did you know about those things? Sima Yue said. The Great Elder's smile froze. That time when those things happened, the family was in a mess. Maybe someone took the chance to do it. However, I assure you that such a thing will never happen again. We'll talk about the future. Sima Yue said to Sima Yue. Sima Yue to the Sima's Sima, but Sima Yue to leave to go to Sima Yue. Tessima to Tessima, Tessima is why she Tessima, 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 Teet, the great elder sighed. It's hard to say now. The family shouldn't have any objections. Sima Lu Yun and Sima Lu Feng heard what he said and felt disdainful. Those people in the family couldn't wait to be happy. Why would they have any opinions? But she suffered a lot these few years. It's not easy for her to accept the family. Sima Lu Feng said, when we found out about her, we were all moved, saying that we've personally experienced her. You've already found out about her? Yes, we've already sent people to check on her. Sima Lu Feng said, oh, then tell us about her. The more detailed, the better. That way, when we return to the family, we'll be able to convince the others. The great elder said, we've already sorted out all those things. Sima Lu Yin took out a thick stack of papers. These are all things that happened to her in the past. You will understand after reading it. Those so-called geniuses in the clan are nothing compared to her. The great elder took a look. He only skimmed the first few pages, but it still shocked him to his core. These are all the things she did? This is unbelievable. Is this really something that a young person can do? If you don't want to, you can send people to check on it. Anyway, the things she did can't be covered up by anyone. Sima Lu Yun said. The great elder didn't, but he did think so in his heart. He would definitely send people to check on it later, to see if she really did it. If she did, then her talent. Great elder, the environment here is so dangerous. She doesn't want everyone to follow her. Why don't you let me and Lu Yin find her? Sima Lu Feng said, if anything happens, we can protect her. The great elder was silent for a while. Then he said, go ahead. You must protect her safety and let her leave this place safely. We will. After speaking, the two of them flew towards the direction Sima Yue left. Sima Yue and Deja left together. They didn't know if the direction they were heading towards was their destination. They just went in a random direction to avoid the Sima family. Sima Lu Feng and Sima Lu Yun caught up. Sima Yue wasn't surprised. Since they said they would protect her, they wouldn't leave halfway. What are you doing? Which direction are you going? She asked the others. No. Sima Lu Feng said. Deja, aren't you from the Ghost Clan too? You should know where there are more ghosts, right? Quite a few words. This isn't the ghost realm. Where am I? Deja said. We came here based on the information passed down from the past. We don't know if it's real or not. What do you want to know? What do you need us to do it? Don't we have it here for you to ask? Dilu looked at Blood Devil who was in Sima Yue's arms. Everyone's gaze shifted to it. He can't even tell her. Can he bring us to the center of the ancient battlefield? We can't say for sure. This little guy is real. Sima Lu Yun said, Yue, ask it and see if it knows. All right. Sima Yue carried Blood Devil. She asked, do you have a lot of ghosts? Blood Devil blinked. As if it didn't understand what she said, she repeated it twice. Woo-woo, Blood Devil rubbed Sima Yue's hand, then turned its head toward the direction and barked twice, telling them that there were a lot of ghosts there. It's so cute like this. If it goes out like this, no one will be able to guess its identity. Sima Lu Feng said, I can feel that its body is sealed. Sima Yue said, it seems like it's really sealed by the Heavenly Tao. It was done by a member of Asterisk Small Talk Network. Chapter 1203. She looked at the silly puppy in front of her and felt extremely helpless. He clearly wanted a blood demon who could dominate the world, but in the end, this was the result. She didn't know if it could break the seal in the future, so she didn't have much hope now. I'll just treat it like I'm keeping a dog by my side. When the dog grinned, its sharp teeth didn't look like a dog's at all. They flew in the direction pointed out by the blood demon. Along the way, they encountered many spatial cracks and spatial holes. If it wasn't for Sima Yue and Chongming leading the way, they would have been in deep trouble. The closer they got to the center, the more dangerous it was and the slower they got. After walking for a few months, they finally arrived at the center of the ancient battlefield. We're finally here. Sima Lu Feng sighed. Suddenly, he felt a suction force pulling him to the side. Be careful. Deja was standing right next to him. When he saw him falling to the side, he pulled him back out of reflex. Sima Lu phone was pulled over and away from the spatial hole. The suction force on his body then disappeared. Uncle Lu phone, are you all right? Sima Yue looked at Sima Lu phone with concern. His arm was already bleeding, and his clothes had been reduced to strips of cloth, revealing the mangled flesh inside. Some of the wounds were so deep that his bones could be seen. It's nothing. Sima Lu phone took out a pill and ate it, then changed out his jacket. Thank you for just now. It was just a reflex. I never thought of saving you, Deja said coldly. The results are the same, so I still have to thank you. Sima Lu phone said. There was clearly no loophole there just now. Now that it suddenly appeared, it means that the spatial loophole here is moving. Sima Yue said, Uncle Luyan, cousin, it's better if you don't go in. I'll go in alone. Can you do it alone? Deja was a little uncertain, but they also knew that the space inside was getting more and more complicated. If they went in, they would only be a burden. Although they were very strong, it was useless in such an environment. In this place, avoiding those spaces was the way to go. Strength was nothing. However, they weren't as sensitive to space as she was, so they couldn't even say it out loud. Put us in the little realm, then. Sima Lu Feng said, if we really encounter anything, we can still come out and lend a hand. If they let her go alone, they would not be at ease. Sima Yue knew that this was the best compromise. She nodded and said, all right, but I don't know how much time this will take. If it takes too long, it will delay your search for the opportunity. We came here to collect souls. Deja said, no matter how long you stay, it won't affect us. Us too. Sima Lu Feng said, those opportunities aren't as important as your safety. Sima Yue was so touched that she pursed her lips and said, okay. I'll finish it as soon as possible. Be careful. I will. She took out a small door, opened the little realm, and let them in. Then she called out Chongming, and the two of them walked to the center together. Without anyone else around, their speed had indeed increased by quite a bit. Soon, they were nearing the central region. They couldn't tell what the central region looked like before. But now it was a flat land, and they couldn't see the end of it. The black ground was barren, and there was still the aura of that battle. The space here is much more stable, Chongming said after sensing the situation here. Maybe it's more stable closer to the center. Sima Yue said, just like the earthquakes in the past, the center of the earthquake was better than the outside. But this feels a little eerie. The temperature has dropped a lot. It should be because the death aura is too strong. Chongming said, there aren't any souls here. Sima Yue nodded. She wasn't surprised. I guessed it when I saw Blood Devil. She touched Blood Devil in her arms. To raise it, it definitely needs a lot of dark aura. The possibility of those souls surviving is not high. This is indeed a little unexpected. Chongming said, I didn't expect that after so long, there would be nothing here. Although Sima Yue had already guessed it, she still felt a little disappointed when she saw the result. Let's see if there's anything that we can pick up. If they just went back like this, she would have wasted her trip. However, the result was not satisfactory. She walked around, and although she did find many treasures, there was nothing that could be used. Those spiritual weapons had all lost their spiritual energy in a long river of time. Chongming had used up a lot of energy, so she asked him to go back and rest. Now it was just her and the little black dog searching the ruins. Woof, woof. The little black dog ran around by itself. Suddenly, it whimpered, as if it was calling Sima Yue over. Sima Yue walked over and saw Little Black using its two paws to dig on the ground. It really looked no different from a dog. When Sima Yue saw how it was acting, a few black lines appeared on her forehead. This fellow was just short of learning to bark like a dog. Did you see anything good? She squatted down and looked at the place where it was digging. Woof, woof. Little Black dug a few times, and a few heart-shaped spirit stones were dug out. What's this? Sima Yue picked up the spirit stones and looked at them under the sunlight. Each of them was crystal clear, and there seemed to be water droplets inside. Woof, woof. Little Black's two front paws lay on Sima Yue's body, and then it opened its bloody mouth and bit down. Hiss! Sima Yue felt a pain in her arm. Just as she was about to pull it up to ask why, the scene around her suddenly changed, and she was shocked. The originally charred ground still had some green spots, but there were burning flames everywhere. There were corpses piled up around her, and some of them were set ablaze, crackling as they burned. Ah, kill! The deafening sound woke her up from her shock. She looked up and realized that she was in the middle of a battlefield, and there were many people fighting around her. There were humans, ghosts, devils, and every other race. There were all kinds of spirit beasts, underworld beasts, and devil beasts. The ghosts were fighting with the devils, and the devils were fighting with the humans. You kill me, I kill her. The whole scene was chaotic. Seema US stood on the spot. When she saw someone rushing towards her, she instinctively wanted to dodge, but the other party was too fast. She had just condensed her spirit energy when the person passed through her body. It didn't hurt. She was stunned on the spot. A few more people passed through her body, but she didn't feel it at all. She tried to release a stream of spirit energy towards a devil beast not far away. The spirit energy also passed through its body and disappeared, and that devil beast was still fighting with another underworld beast. Chapter 1204. Diwoo's hand was grabbed by Sima Yue, and he flew towards her uncontrollably. As he didn't have any defense, he screamed in fright. Reading a book at 8 o'clock. Oh, plus, release your ghost chi, Sima Yue ordered. Diwu didn't know what she wanted to do, but he still listened to her and released his ghost chi. Then, he felt a gentle aura surrounding him. Seeing that they were about to reach the city wall, he was so scared that he closed his eyes. However, the danger that he imagined did not come. He only felt that they had passed through a thin film. When he opened his eyes again, they were already standing on the city wall. This. He looked at the city wall in shock, and then at Sima Yue. How'd they get in? What is this? Sima Yue released him and removed the fusion with little roar, keeping him back into the spirit pagoda. How do we get here? Diwu was still immersed in the impossible. No one could enter just now, but in the blink of an eye, they were all here. It was too miraculous. You wouldn't know even if I told you. You don't have to worry about it. Sima Yue said, let's go down and take a look. As she spoke, she walked around Diwu and walked towards the stairs behind him. Did you call them out? Diwu reacted and chased after him to ask. There's no rush. They are all light attribute soul masters, while the people here are all dark attribute and ghost clan members. They won't be of much help even if they come out now. Let's call them after we find out more about Father. Sima Yue said. Then they will go crazy in the little realm. Diwu sighed. But why did you leave me behind? You're from the ghost clan. Sometimes it's more convenient for you to gather information. Sima Yue said. Hey, you even planned this. Diwu pouted. Actually, it wasn't because of me that you were able to come in. Instead, I was brought in by you. Sima Yue smiled. You're not slow, so you didn't want them to come out from the start, Diwu said with certainty. You're right, but there are no prizes. Sima Yue said. Then how did you know you could come in? Because I'm smart. His narcissism was back. It's because of that spirit beast of yours. Diwu continued. Because you guys fused together, that's why you guys could enter. Sima Yue saw that he was relentless in his pursuit, so she stopped and turned around to look at him. She explained, when you want to test it out, I could already tell that this defensive array was made up of spirit barriers. As long as it's a barrier, it won't be difficult for me. Oh, that spirit beast can ignore all barriers, right? Diwu looked like he was enlightened. He suddenly thought of something and said, Don't tell me this is the ancient divine beast's divine roar. I got it right again. Sima Yue continued to walk down the stairs. She thought to herself that although Diwu looked unreliable sometimes, he was actually quite smart. But then again, if he wasn't smart, why would his cousin send him to look for her? They came to the bottom of the city wall and saw empty streets. There were no ghosts or humans. Why isn't there a single soul here? It should be because the place we came in is in no man's land. Sima Yue guessed. If not, why wouldn't there be anyone who came to watch the show when they created such a huge commotion? We know too little about this place. Let's find someone to ask about the situation first. Diwu said. All right. They walked as they observed the situation, but they didn't find anyone after walking for a long time. Diwu, since you've heard about the situation in the ghost city, then tell me, what have you heard? Actually, it's nothing much. They're all talking about how ferocious and aggressive the people here are. Diwu continued, but if some people don't have a foothold in the ghost realm and happen to know the location of this place, they would choose to come here. Sima Yue raised her eyebrows. If they treated this place as a refuge, wouldn't it be the same as Bloodfiend City? Such a deserted city, there's no sound at all. If it was me, I wouldn't come here. Diwu pouted and said. Suddenly he twitched his nose and sniffed hard, saying, "There's the smell of people here." Sima Yue stopped and looked at him, sniffing left and right. He really looked like a dog. "What did you find?" She saw him sniffing so seriously. She held back her laughter and asked, "I only smell a few people and Ghost Clan smell. There's also the smell of blood." Diwu continued, "If I didn't guess wrongly, someone is fighting." Finally someone. "Let's go over and take a look." "Which direction?" They happened to be at a crossroad. Diwu pointed to the direction on their right, and the two of them ran over quickly. "I'll beat you to death, you little bitch." "Impressive. You dare to hide when you see me." Beat me up. If I don't teach you a lesson today, you won't know the immensity of heaven and earth." Before they even got close, they heard sharp insults and the sound of punches and kicks, as well as some muffled sounds. "Get up. Weren't you very arrogant before? Didn't you say you wanted to do something to me? Come, I'll wait for you here." What a useless piece of trash. A useless piece of trash like you can only be stepped on by me forever. Ha ha. Young master, let's go back first. This is a restricted area. If people know we're here, we'll be punished by the city lord. A voice persuaded. What are you afraid of? Even if the sky falls, father and the rest will hold it up. So what if he's the city lord? My father is in charge now. Even if we're really caught, we'll be fine. Zhang Shua, your father is just a lackey under the city lord's feet. Other than using your father to do bad things, what else can you do? If you're really found out trespassing here, let's see if your father can really protect you. Since I don't want my life anymore, it's good that I can drag you down with me before I die. Ha ha. How dare you threaten me? Beat him up hard. If I don't beat him to death today, my surname isn't Zhang. Yes, young master. Young master, he's still that person's child. What if he's really killed and suddenly comes back? What are you afraid of? Zhang Shua shouted. His father has been missing for who knows how many years. He's definitely dead. Kill him. Sima Yue and the rest turned around the corner and saw a group of people surrounding a young man in the middle of the street. They didn't use any spiritual energy, but just used their hands and feet like normal people. The young man was lying on the ground with his hands covering his head, hoping to avoid getting hurt. When Sima Yue looked over, her eyes met with his stubborn eyes. Chapter 1205. Sima Yue kept the spirit stones. If she couldn't find a better water, she would give it to Yinlin. But she didn't know if he would buy it. She carried Little Black and said, "All right, let's go back now." Little Black was unhappy that this woman didn't know what he was thinking, but when he felt her warm embrace, the anger in his heart dissipated. This stupid woman. Sima Yue brought Little Black to walk one more round, but they didn't find anything valuable, so they left. "Look at you. You've used up all the spirits here, causing me to get nothing." Sima Yue poked Little Black, who was in her embrace. Little Black shrunk his neck, speechless. This wasn't something he could decide. He didn't have any consciousness at that time. Before Sima Yue left, she thought of Deja, so she opened her little realm and called them out, explaining the situation here to them. There's no spirit here. Deja and the rest thought of this situation, but everyone still held on to a glimmer of hope. Maybe there were still spirits here? But the reality was like this. It didn't change because of their hope. At this time, everyone looked at Little Black with resentment. If it wasn't here, it wouldn't be like this. Woo-woo. Little Black blinked his big round eyes innocently. Since there's no spirit here, then let's go back first. Sima Lufeng said. Although the space here seemed more stable, it was still a folded space. It could collapse at any time. Since there were no spirits, it was better to leave early. Everyone didn't have any objections to leaving, so Sima Yue kept them in her little realm and rushed back with Chongming. But just as they were worried, because the lightning tribulation was too strong when it struck Little Black, the space here was more unstable than before. There are more gaps and holes than before, and I feel that the space here is on the verge of collapse. Chongming said, "That's true." Sima Yue also felt it. "I feel it too. There seems to be a battle outside, causing the space here to be more unstable. To be able to affect space, it seems that the power of the people fighting is not low." Without knowing why, Sima Yue suddenly thought of Feng Ruyen. If she was the one who made a move, this space would definitely be destroyed. She then recalled that when she had just arrived on this continent, her spatial passageway had been destroyed by someone else's battle, which was why she had fallen into the void and gotten injured. When would she reach the point where she could make this space tremble just by moving her hand? The entire space shook for a while before stopping. The fight has stopped. I don't know. I only know that we have to hurry up and get out. This place might collapse at any moment. If we fall into the endless void, I might not be so lucky to survive. Sima Yue said. Yes. She and Chongming continued to walk forward. Along the way, they saw many people walking out as well. It seemed that everyone had sensed the changes here. It was only her and Chongming on the way back, so their speed was much faster than when they came. They were close to the exit in a few months. In these few months, she felt the space shake a few times, which made her think that this space would collapse. But luckily, she managed to hold on in the end. I really don't know who is fighting outside. After the space shook once, she wiped the sweat on her forehead. She was quite frightened. Logically speaking, there shouldn't be so many powerful people here. Chongming said, but the recent battles have affected this space, which means that the people fighting are not weak. They're at least Paragon level. But are there so many Paragon level people here? Nope. Sima Yue said, I estimated that there have been more than 10 battles. If there are 2 people each time, there should be 30 to 40 people. This time, there shouldn't be so many Paragon level experts. Then this is strange. Chongming said, maybe something happened outside. Sima Yue pursed her lips. She was a little worried about Shimin Feng and the rest. Nothing should happen. Chongming said. Lin said that they are not in great danger. But I still feel a little worried. Sima Yue said, according to what Lin said, nothing big should happen here. But I still feel that something is not right. If you are worried, wait until we get out, then go and find them. Chongming said, anyway, you have already done what you wanted to do. You have also gotten the 100 Ghost banner. You can stay with them until we get out. Wait until we get out, then I will see where they are. Sima Yue said, in the inner regions of the primordial lands, Divinator's sect was especially busy today. Many people came to find Lin. They wanted him to see what happened in the immortal land. Why did so many people in the sect die recently? Divinator's disciples came out and welcomed them outside the mountain. They were brought to Divinator's inner hall. This was something that rarely happened in the past. Everyone, please wait here. My sect master will be coming out soon. The disciple bowed towards them and left. It was a simple house with simple decorations. If they were not sure that this was Divinator's sect, they would have thought that they had arrived at a commoner's house. Everyone waited anxiously for a while before they saw Lin come out with the help of a small helper. Lin's face looked even paler than usual. His eyes were bloodshot, as if he had just been injured. Master Lin. Everyone stood up. Lin waved his hand at them and said, everyone, take a seat. The small helper helped him to a seat and said, Master, be careful. Lin held the chair and sat down. Only then did the others return to their seats. Master Lin, you don't look too good. I'm fine. It's just something that happened when I was divining my fortune. Lin said faintly. I know why everyone is here. This time, the immortal lands matter is indeed unexpected. The first few years were good, but I didn't expect that something would happen now. What happened in the immortal land? Why are our people dying faster and faster? Someone asked. I was divining this matter just now. Lin said, the news that I received was unexpected. Everyone better be mentally prepared. When he said this, everyone's hearts were in their mouths. They were all elites of the younger generation who entered the immortal land. If they all died in the immortal land, wouldn't they suffer a huge loss? Master Lin, just tell us what happened inside. Someone couldn't help but say. It was better to just tell them the result. Chapter 1206. This time, the immortal land will be open for a longer period of time than before. I've said this before. Do you still remember? Lin said. I remember. Back then, Lord Lin said that he didn't know the reason. Do you know now? Yes. Lin said. The reason for the delay is related to what you are worried about now. It is for this reason that the losses of your younger generation are more severe than expected. What's the reason? Lin was silent for a while before he said with a serious face, You all know that there are many continents outside of us. Some are stronger than us, some are weaker than us. Is this related to the outer realms? Those people asked in astonishment. Others might not know about the outer realm, but there were still many forces in the inner realm who knew about it. Lin nodded and said, I just calculated that the change in the immortal land this time is because the door in another place has also opened. Other places have been opened as well. Do you know where it is? I can't. Lin said, I only know that the power of that place is generally much higher. When those people entered the immortal realm, they would naturally snatch the treasures from those who came and went first. The people who came in would rob the people from the primordial lands. Naturally, the casualties would be much more serious than before. Then is there a solution? Someone asked. Lin was silent once again. After a while, he said, Do you still remember that child back then? That child back then? Everyone was stunned and couldn't remember who he was talking about. Someone reacted earlier and said, You mean the child left behind by Sima Lu Xian and the Ghost Clan Princess? That's right. Could it be that she was the one who resolved this crisis? The key to resolving this crisis lies with him. However, whether he is willing to help or not, that is unknown. Lin said, What if she's not willing to help? Then it's hard to say what the result will be. Lin said, Perhaps it will be a result that you won't be able to bear. Unable to bear it? Wouldn't that mean the entire army would be wiped out? She's just a young lady in her 30s. No matter how talented her parents are, it's impossible for her to become a heaven-defying monster, right? There's so many people in there who are stronger than her. How can she be the key to resolving the crisis? Sometimes, the person who solves the problem isn't the strongest person, but the key person. Lin said. Everyone fell silent again. Lord Lin, when you asked us to spare that child's life, you said that if we spared her life that day, she would return us peace. Yes, I did say that, but I wasn't referring to this matter. Lin said, It's just that in this matter, she just happens to be the key point. Everyone was silent again, but this time, Lin didn't give them a chance to ask questions. Instead, he got up with the help of Xiao Tong and walked outside. Lord Lin, they didn't expect Lin to leave so soon and subconsciously wanted to stop him. Lin stopped and turned around to look at everyone. Although he couldn't see, everyone had a feeling that he could see through them. There's nothing I can do about the rest. However, let me give you a word of advice. There are some things that you shouldn't care so much about. Don't look into the past. Otherwise, if you bring disaster to the present, it won't be worth it. After he finished speaking, he turned around and walked out. Immediately after, two people came in and bowed to them, saying, Everyone, please. Although these people still had doubts in their hearts, they understood the rules here. They knew that they wouldn't be able to get any information by staying here. If they forced themselves to stay, it would make the divinator unhappy. So everyone could only stand up and leave. When Lin returned to his room, he couldn't help but spit out another mouthful of blood. His pale face became even paler. Xiao Tong hurriedly took out a pill for him to eat and said, Master, since this matter consumes so much of your energy, why do you still want to do it? Lin took out a handkerchief to wipe the blood from the corner of his mouth and said, Xiao Tong, there are some things that we can't escape from just because we want to. But this matter clearly doesn't need to be so deep. If it's just a little bit, you wouldn't have suffered such a heavy backlash. Xiao Tong said, Master, at this time, every time I do it, it's one less time. Lin said, Xiao Tong, you saw it too. Do you still want to be a divinator? Xiao Tong took the handkerchief from his hand and said, Master, no matter what happens, it won't change my mind. Sigh. Yin Lin let out a long sigh and said, You can leave. Master needs to recuperate. Yes, Master. Master, I'll be outside the door. If you need anything, just call me. After Xiao Tong finished speaking, he retreated outside and stood at the door with his head lowered. No one knew what he was thinking about. Yin Lin sighed again. He hoped that she could bring back what she wanted. And the person he had high hopes for was cursing wildly in her heart at this moment. Why was she so unlucky? Everyone else went out. She was just about to leave when this space collapsed. Collapsed. The moment the space collapsed, she kept Chongming and Little Black back. Then, she opened up her domain and wrapped it around herself. If it wasn't for the domain, she would have been crushed by this void. The few people in front of her had all gone out, but when it came to her, it collapsed. Right now, she really had thousands of grass mud horses galloping wildly in her heart. But even if she had the domain now, it was useless. She was bound by the void. Once she retracted the domain, she would definitely be injured by the void's power and even take her life. But if she was trapped here, she wouldn't be able to get out. And this domain would disperse sooner or later. What should she do? Boom! She didn't know who was still fighting, but the power shook her who was at the edge of the void a few times. F***, who the hell is fighting? If this continues, I'll be thrown into the void. She couldn't help but curse. She controlled the domain and slowly walked towards the exit. But no matter how hard she tried, she couldn't get close to the exit. It was clearly in front of her, but she couldn't reach it. Her heart was about to collapse, especially when the domain was being squeezed by the void's power. The range was shrinking, and there were already signs of collapse. And her position from the hole still didn't change. Katja! The soft sound fell into her ears, but became the call of death. She wailed in her heart. She couldn't be that miserable, right? Katja! The cracking sound came again. This time, the sound was much louder. She also felt that there were cracks in the domain. But before she could think of a solution, the entire domain collapsed. Her heart also collapsed. She didn't know if her body would collapse as well. Damn, I played it big this time. She screamed in her heart. She was completely crushed by the void's power and lost consciousness. Chapter 12:07. When Sima Yue felt sore all over her body, she was happy and excited. She clearly remembered that her domain had collapsed, and then she was crushed by the power of the void. How was she still alive? That familiar smell. She suddenly opened her eyes and saw Wu Lingyu's familiar face. Senior brother? When she spoke, her voice was hoarse, and she felt a piercing pain. Wasn't he in the spirit pagoda? How would he be outside? Don't talk. Your voice hasn't recovered yet. If you heard it again, I'm afraid it won't be able to change back in the future. Wu Lingyu put a finger on her lips to stop her from talking. Why are you here? She used her eyes to express her meaning. When you were unconscious, I asked the little spirit to let me out. Wu Lingyu said, even though you're its master, it still listens to me, especially in a situation like this. Naturally, it let me out. Wasn't I in the void? How'd I get outside? She asked with her eyes. Of course I was the one who brought you out, Wu Lingyu said calmly. She didn't think it was a big deal. Sima Yu's eyes widened as a look of pleasant surprise appeared in her eyes. Have you recovered your strength? Seeing the joy in her eyes, he patted her head and said, I've almost recovered. Although I'm still a little short, it won't be a problem for me to bring you out. It was great that he had recovered his strength. Why didn't you tell me earlier? Sima Yue pouted and glared at him. I was in seclusion, and when I came out, I saw that you were in danger, Wu Lingyu explained. All right, you just woke up, so don't use your divine sense too much. Rest well. Sima Yue nodded. She could not move her body and did not know where she was. She only knew that she was in the tent that Wu Lingyu had prepared for her. She wobbled and fell asleep again. Before she fell asleep, she realized that she had been injured a lot since she came here. She slept for 3 days and 3 nights, but Wu Lingyu didn't do anything in these 3 days. He just stayed here and watched her sleeping face. He didn't feel that time had passed. When she opened her eyes again and saw that he was still in the same position, she couldn't help but ask, "You won't always be like this, right?" Only now do I understand what it means to be in the blink of an eye. In the blink of an eye, I only blinked a few times, and you woke up. Wu Lingyu said, "How long have I slept?" Sima Yue asked. Her voice was still a little hoarse, but it was different from before. "Not too long, just 3 days and 3 nights. Wu Lingyu said, "Are you feeling better?" "Much better. I can move now, but it's still very painful," Sima Yue said. "It's better this time, probably because you brought me out." "You're different from back then," Wu Lingyu said. "You've grown a lot compared to back then." At that time, she had just advanced to the divine rank. She didn't have anything. Her body wasn't as strong as it was now, and she didn't have a domain. She was much worse in all aspects. It took me a long time to recover. I just hope that it'll be better this time, and I can recover sooner. She moved her hands, but it was still very difficult. Her body was in pain, so she could only give up. "You should be content. How many people like you are crippled for the rest of their lives?" Wu Lingyu took out a basin of water and a towel. He wet it and wrung it dry, then wiped her face, neck, and hands. "Sigh, people are never content. Once you have something good, you want something better." Sima Yue sighed. "Oh right, do you know why the space collapsed?" "What else could it be?" "It was caused by a fight between 2 supreme rankers." Wu Lingyu focused on wiping her body. "Do you know who it was?" "It feels like there have been a lot of fights between rankers recently." "Did something happen?" Sima Yue asked. "I don't know," Wu Lingyu said. "I don't care about those things. I have to protect you, so I don't have time to go out and investigate. When you're better, we'll go and take a look." Wu Lingyu said. "How long do we have to wait?" She willed and summoned a swarm of scarlet bees, letting them go out and investigate. While she was recuperating, the scarlet bees flew a long distance and found out a lot of information. They then sent the information back. Hearing the news, Sima Yue's expression became more serious. Wu Lingyu saw her expression change and asked, "Did you find out anything?" Sima Yue nodded. "There were some people nearby, and the bees found out a lot of information." "Looking at you, it shouldn't be good news, right?" Wu Lingyu said. "People from outside the realm came in," Sima Yue said. Wu Lingyu was stunned. "How did the people from outside the realm come in?" "I don't know," Sima Yue said. "I asked Qing just now, and he said that this has never happened before. Thinking about it, this immortal land opened in the same place every time. So how could such a situation happen? Those people from outside the realm are the stronger ones." Wu Lingyu guessed. "How do you know?" "You said it." Sima Yue blinked. "When did I say that?" "You said before that there were more battles between Paragon rankers, but there aren't that many Paragon rankers from our mainland. That can only mean that there are more people coming in, and there are more rankers." Wu Lingyu analyzed. "So smart," Sima Yue praised, then sighed. "If they're strong, our people are in trouble. Those people came in later, but they didn't expect to see those things being taken by the people here, so naturally, they would fight for it." Wu Lingyu said, "Since ancient times, these opportunities belong to whoever has them. So many people will pay the price with their lives. It's normal for some people to die." "I don't care about the others. I'm just worried about Feng and the others," Sima Yue said. "If they meet those people, they won't care about us. If they met people from the primordial lands, they would be wary of the powers behind her. But the people from outside the realm wouldn't. They didn't care if she was the king of the bird clan, who could find her after leaving the immortal land." The more Sima Yue thought about it, the more worried she was. "If that's the case, then we'll wait for you to recover before looking for them," Wu Lingyu said. Although he wanted to be alone with her, he couldn't bear to see her so worried. I hope they'll be fine," Sima Yue said. "All right, don't think about it now. Rest well. That way, you'll be able to recover faster. Go look for them," Wu Lingyu said. "I'm afraid that won't do," Sima Yue said. "Before you swat those flies away, I'm afraid I won't be able to rest well." Chapter 1208. Wu Lingyu used his divine sense and said, "There are indeed some flies coming over. Wait here, I'll go swat them for you. Okay. Sima Yoyua's body was much better, but she still lay on the bed and did not want to move. After a while, a group of people arrived at the place where they set up camp. Eldest senior brother, there's a tent in front. A man with inverted triangular eyes pointed at the tent in front and said, Here, a tent. It's a little strange. Eldest senior brother, could this be a trap set up by the people from that continent? Another woman said. The person who was called eldest senior brother looked at their tent and snorted, People from that continent? Humph, they're just a bunch of ants. Even if it's a trap, we can use our strength to break it. That's right. The people from that continent are really despicable. They actually dare to come here and snatch our opportunities. Another follower said, These treasures should obviously be ours. Those who dare to take our opportunities should pay the price. Go and see who's in that tent. Another woman with heavy makeup ordered. Yes, second senior sister. Before those people could get close to the tent, Wu Lingyu came out from inside. Wow, it's a handsome guy. When second senior sister saw him, her eyes immediately lit up. Second senior sister, you're drooling. That second senior sister wiped the corner of her mouth. Where was the saliva? Go to the side. She slapped that person's face, but her eyes did not leave Wu Lingyu. Enough. Don't you know that second senior sister likes handsome guys the most? You still dare to tease her. Aren't you afraid that she'll beat you up? The inverted triangular eyes said. What's there to be afraid of? Second senior sister only has eyes for handsome guys. She doesn't have the heart to care about us. That person said with a smile. I'll deal with you later. I'm going to go fish for handsome guys now. Second senior sister smiled and walked towards Wu Lingyu. As she walked, she said to the person behind her, Eldest senior brother, I've taken a liking to this man. Leave him to me. Really, every time you see a handsome guy, you lose your sense of direction. Eldest senior brother complained, but didn't say anything else. He meant that he would let her deal with Wu Lingyu. The woman swayed her body as she walked towards Wu Lingyu. She smiled and said, Handsome, what's your name? Will you come with me? That won't do. Sima Yue came out of the tent and went to Wu Lingyu's side. She held his hand and said, My eldest senior brother is already taken. He won't go with just any random person. Who are you calling a nobody? When the woman saw Sima Yue coming out, her beautiful face and the intimate way they were holding each other's arms, she was instantly enraged and roared at her. Whoever responds will be the one. Sima Yue covered her mouth and giggled. Her beautiful eyes and sweet smile stunned the group of men. How could there be such a beautiful woman? Wu Lingyu lowered his head and looked at her pretending to be a lady. The corners of his mouth lifted. He said, Weren't you resting inside? Why did you come out? I didn't want to either. Isn't it because someone wants to snatch you away from me? I'm here to protect my interests. Sima Yue said. Wu Lingyu raised his eyebrows. Do you think I'll be snatched away so easily? That's hard to say. Sima Yue rubbed against his arm. There's no cat in the world that doesn't steal fish. Maybe one day your heart will be tempted, and someone will use a rotten fish to lure you away, leaving behind a foul smell. Hee, if there really is such a thing, then I'll kill that fish first. Wu Lingyu cooperated. Although he didn't agree with her, he was still happy to see her acting coquettishly in front of him. All right. Sima Yue stood still and looked at him with a smile. Wu Lingyu reached out and tapped her nose. This girl was clearly injured and still wanted to play. However, seeing that she cared so much about him, he would play with her. He looked up and glanced at those people. If you don't want to die, then scram. You want us to scram? Ha ha ha. You want us to scram? Ha ha. This is the funniest thing I've heard in the immortal land. Those people laughed loudly. This was because Wu Lingyu and the others couldn't sense his strength at all. Sima Yue and the others, however, could sense that he was just a supreme god, and an injured one at that. There was no need to be afraid of him. As for Wu Lingyu, as her senior brother, his strength shouldn't be that high either. They found it hilarious that someone like him was telling them to scram. You have a nerve to occupy such a good man with your looks. I'll kill you today and then take him away. The girl suppressed the anger in her heart and looked at Sima Yue with a murderous gaze. What a scary gaze. Sima Yue hid behind Wu Lingyu and looked frightened. Senior brother, I'm scared. Although Wu Lingyu was playing with her, he couldn't keep up the act anymore. This delicate look really didn't suit her. Second senior sister, why are you in such a hurry to kill such a beautiful girl? You should at least let us have some fun with her before killing her. She must feel good. PFFF. Before the triangular-eyed man could finish his sentence, he was sent flying by a wave of spiritual energy. Wu Lingyu's aura was completely different from before. He didn't have the leisure and faint smile on his face. There was only a thick murderous intent. It was fine to talk bad about him, but to insult her, that was asking for death. Those people were frightened by his strength. He killed them in one move. This meant that his strength was at least a few levels higher than theirs. How could it be? Sima Yue saw him like this and stopped teasing him. She pulled his hand and said, "Why are you angry? Just kill this scum." The way she killed people so casually was completely different from the delicate young lady just now. Only then did they know that she was just playing around. Hua, someone wants to steal us. I'll leave it for you as a snack. She released Hua, and naturally, Little Dream and Little Seven were with her. The three of them were now inseparable. How dare you steal Brother Lingyu? We definitely can't let you go. Little Seven rolled up her sleeves and looked like she was about to attack. How dare you have such evil thoughts towards you? Unforgivable. Hua transformed into vines with man-eating flowers blooming all over them. Same old rules. Little Dream was the most direct and attacked those people first. Again, Little Seven clenched her fists and attacked. She couldn't lose to Little Dream. Me too. Hua blossomed into beautiful flowers, waiting to enjoy the delicious food. Man-eating Flower King. They couldn't recognize Little Seven and Little Dream, but Hua was easier to recognize. Seeing Hua, despair rose in their hearts. How could they meet such a terrifying thing here? Chapter 1209. With Little Seven and the other two taking action, those people were quickly taken down. Yu, are we going to kill them directly? Little Seven stood on the pile of people. These were all captured by her. My flower has been waiting for a long time. Hua said. There were many people in her flower. As long as Sima Yue gave the order, she would immediately swallow them up. Sima Yue pulled Wu Lingyu's hand and walked in front of those people. She bent down and looked at their pale faces, saying, "Are these people from that continent? They don't seem to be much stronger than the people here. Trash like you have the nerve to come here." Little Seven used her strength, and the people below her immediately cried out in alarm. "Cripple their eldest senior brother for me. I just need him to breathe." Sima Yu said, "That's easy." Little Seven picked up that senior brother. With just one punch, he was only left with one breath. Sima Yue shook her head and said helplessly, "Little Seven, how many times do I have to tell you to be a lady? Don't be so violent." Little Seven moved her fist and said, "I am already considered a lady. If I were to be violent, I would become a meat patty." Sima Yue pursed her lips. All right, it seemed like that was the case. She walked in front of the senior brother and used her divine sense to enter his brain, directly looking for the information she wanted. Divine sense entering the body. When those people saw her do that, they cried out in shock. She was so young and actually had such a strong divine sense. They didn't have such a strong person from their continent. "You can still speak? It seems like you still have strength." Little Seven said as she punched that person. That person's eyes rolled back, and he fainted. "So violent." Little Dream said in disdain. "Aren't you the same?" Little Seven glanced at the people below Little Dream. None of them were unharmed. Sima Yue finished reading that person's memories and then threw him on the ground, saying calmly, "Deal with them." That calm and collected look made it seem like she wasn't deciding the life and death of a group of people. At this time, those people finally knew that she wasn't a delicate lady, but a demon who killed without batting an eyelid. It was a pity that they found out too late. Hua quickly ate all those people. Little Seven and the rest knew that she liked to eat. At this time, they all let her have it. "What news did you get?" Wu Lingyu took out a handkerchief and wiped her hands. Her hands were dirty from carrying that man. It's a continent called Fengqi. It doesn't seem to have much interaction with our world. Sima Yue said, have you heard of it? Wu Lingyu shook his head, never heard of it. Although he knew some continents, this was the first time he heard it. It was the first time he heard of it. From that person's memories, we can see that their strength is indeed higher than our continents, but they have a lot more Paragon-level experts. So to the space to the left, twos, to the end of the world, to the end. That is so much so that the folded space collapsed. Looks like they are in trouble. Wu Lingyu said, but there was no worry in his eyes. Sima Yue took out the scroll and opened it. Since most of them are in this area, if Feng, and the rest aren't here, maybe they're all here. All here? Who else is there? Little Seven jumped over and looked at the scroll. Heartbreak Valley, the Capital Institute, the Kong Valley, and the Violet Water Dragon clan are all in this area, and they are not far from each other. Sima Yue said, even Big Brother Qin and the rest are here. Other than them, there were many people rushing over. There were more red dots in this area than before she entered the folded space. Looks like it will be very lively here. Wu Lingyu said. Indeed. Sima Yue said, I will contact them first. She took out the Mother-Son Stone and contacted Shimin Feng and the rest. Sister, where are you? Shimin Feng asked anxiously as soon as he contacted Sima Yue. They tried to contact her after they found out that there was a change in the situation, but they could not reach her. I'm still far away from you. Sima Yue said, are you okay? We can't contact you. Shimin Li said worriedly. Something happened before, but it's fine now. Sima Yue said, wait here. I will come and find you soon. Okay. Sima Yue cut off the connection, then took out the array stone and started to set up the array with Wu Lingyu. Because the distance was too far, she did not arrive in one go, but 3 times to reach them. The people from Heartbreak Valley waited at the same place after they received the news. 3 to 4 days had passed when they saw Sima Yue. Sister, are you hurt? Shimin Feng saw Sima Yue and knew that she was not in good health. Yeah, something happened before, but it's fine now. Sima Yue said. Shimin Feng looked at Wu Lingyu, his eyes full of questions. Why was he fine, but she was hurt? How did he take care of her? This has nothing to do with senior brother. If it wasn't for him, I would probably be dead. Sima Yue explained. What happened to you? How did you almost die? Shimin Li went up and grabbed Sima Yue's hand. Her face changed in shock. Nothing. Sima Yue patted her hand, then told her what happened. She did not say that she went to the folded space to find Deja. She said that she went in by accident, and when she came out, the space collapsed, and she was saved by Wu Lingyu. How did you encounter such a thing? You are really lucky to be able to survive. Feng Kai exclaimed. I think I'm lucky too. Sima Yue said, what did you guys gain all these years? Our experience is nothing compared to yours. Shimin Feng said, but it's still all right. We found quite a number of treasures these years. We didn't meet anyone from the other continent. But I heard that the Violet Water Dragon clan met them once. The other party wanted to find trouble with them, but got beaten up by them. Bai Shang said, those people who came in later are really too much. They don't look for treasures themselves. They only do things like robbing. And he was full of disdain towards those people. If we meet them, we will definitely beat them up. Remember what you said. Bai Shang said, don't hide behind them when you see them. How is that possible? And he shouted, I don't know how to hide. All right, it's time for you to perform. Old Bai looked at him, his eyes full of smiles. We'll see how you perform later. Feng Kai and the rest also looked at him with anticipation. What? And he blinked, unable to react. Chapter 12:10. But soon, he understood what they meant because he saw a group of people walking towards them. Judging from the other party's aggressive manner, it was obvious that they were here to rob. Another group of fat sheep. Someone from the other party spoke. His eyes lit up when he saw Sima Yue and the rest. Especially when he saw her and Shimin Li's charming looks, he started to drool. Boss, there's a beauty. Those people were looking at Sima Yue and the girls with lascivious eyes. It was disgusting. Haha, it seems that not only can we snatch treasures today, We can also snatch a few beauties back to play with. Today's luck is really good." The boss laughed loudly. When they said that, the faces of those from Heartbreak Valley turned black. How dare they have such disgusting thoughts about their boss? He really doesn't want to live anymore. They originally wanted to tease Ani, but now they all stood up and prepared to teach these people a lesson. They were all desperados from Bloodfiend City. Once they released their aura, how could ordinary people be compared to them? Just that killing intent alone caused the other party's aura to weaken. Some of them even felt their legs go soft. From the looks of it, they must have robbed a lot of people recently. Since that's the case, we can't just let them go. When the snipe and the clam fight, let us be the fishermen. Sima Yue smiled. She was in a good mood. Since the people of that continent liked to rob, then they would give them a taste of their own medicine and take everything that they had robbed. Of course, the things that were snatched from her were hers, so she wouldn't give them back to those people. This is a good deal. It's much better than risking our lives to find those treasures. And Ione laughed. The others agreed and took out their weapons one by one. In that case, let's start with these people. He could ignore the others, but he couldn't let those despicable things go. Brothers, let's go. There was no need for Sima Yue and Shimin Feng to speak. The people of Heartbreak Valley attacked together. Although some of the other party's strength was higher, their overall strength was far from theirs. Very quickly, those people were taken down by the people from Heartbreak Valley. Sima Yue and Wu Lingyu stood at the back and did not do anything. Shimin Li wanted to help, but she was stopped by Sima Yue. This kind of real battle, Liu was still so young, and her strength was not low either. It was best not to join in the fun. Those who had looked at Sima Yue and the rest with lascivious eyes were all killed. None of them were spared. The people of Heartbreak Valley were very protective of Sima Yue. They did not dare to reveal such thoughts to her and could not bear to tarnish her. These people still dared to pull teeth from the tiger's mouth. They were really tired of living. The others didn't have much of a grudge against them, so they didn't take their lives. They just asked them to hand over their spatial rings. That person did not agree at first. They had always been the ones robbing others. When had they ever been robbed? However, after killing a few people, they realized that these people were not those simple sect disciples from before. They really knew how to kill. Those people could only obediently hand over their spatial rings and erase their connection with them. The people of Heartbreak Valley took their spatial rings, took out the things inside, and returned the empty spatial rings to them. Here, the things are here. I'll return the spatial rings to you. We're still very good. Those people did not forget to put gold on their faces. Sima Yue saw them like this and thought of the time when she was with Fatty Chu and the rest. Fatty Chu would always be very active in plundering those people's spatial rings. He would not leave any treasures behind. She didn't know how they were now. When they left, they said that they would go to the little realm for 10 years. Calculating the time now, they should be out soon. It was a pity that she was still in the immortal land. They would not be able to see her even if they went back. She really missed them a little. While she was in a daze, and E and the rest had already robbed the other party. Although those people were unwilling, they were no match for the power of Heartbreak Valley. They could only run away with their tails between their legs. Humph. Did they really think that they were strong just because they came from there? When they met someone with a strong fist, they still ran away quickly. And Ione commented, when they met someone strong, they still didn't run. Are they stupid? Sima Yue said with a smile. Quick, look at what you got. Boss, Valley Lord, these people might have really robbed a lot before. They have a lot of things. It's not worse than ours at all. He said, if it's not that they rob more people, then their continent is better than ours. Shimin Feng said, their people's average strength is higher than ours. It's true that the environment is much better. No matter how they are, after leaving the immortal land, we won't have much interaction with each other. Sima Yue said, so there's no need to be cautious when fighting. Even if he's the sky outside, he's just a worm here. There's no need to worry. Understand? Understood, Vice Valley Lord. The people of Heartbreak Valley replied in unison. Similarly, our backgrounds are of no use to them. They won't care about Little Rock's identity, and won't care if the Bird Clan is behind us. So you have to be careful when you're outside. If you can't beat them, Running away isn't a shameful thing. It's better than losing your life. Sima Yue said, "We understand. Everyone lived on the edge of a knife. After so many years, everyone understood these principles. But they still believed that with her around, they would be fine. They had a kind of blind trust in her. All right, let old Bai count these things. The rest of you can rest." The battle just now was quite tiring. Sima Yue said, although Shimin Feng was the Valley Lord in name, and she was the one that everyone wanted to pursue, but the real person in charge of the valley was Bai Sheng. If it wasn't for him, they wouldn't be so carefree now. Bai Sheng originally followed Sima Yue because of what she said back then. He still wanted to take revenge one day. But now he was a little happy. Sima Yue pulled Shimin Feng and Shimin Li to talk about some personal things. The siblings had been separated for so many years, and they had gone through so many things. They still wanted to chat more together. Suddenly, there was a ripple in the air. Then, a space tunnel appeared in front of everyone. But no one came out from it. Sima Yue stood up from the rock and looked at the space tunnel. They're in danger. This book came from. Chapter 12:11. Who's in trouble? Shimin Li asked. I don't know either. I gave them the same thing. They can build a spatial tunnel with me at critical moments, so I don't know who is on the other side. Sima Yue said, Feng, gather everyone and follow me. We'll go and take a look first. Shi and Wu Lingyu went in first, followed by Feng Ji and the rest. Those disciples who were further away also rushed over one after another, lining up to fly in. On the other side of the space tunnel, the Kong Valley and the Capital Institute stood together, facing off against the group in front of them. A group of people surrounded them in the middle. The number of people was twice their number, not to mention that the other party's strength was slightly higher. Director Mao, is this thing useful? Mao Sanquan wasn't too sure either. Normally, when people asked for help, they would be given a teleportation array to leave. However, Yue didn't have one. He had already activated that thing, but there was no reaction. Didn't you ask for help? The other party surrounded them. Why isn't your help here yet? It seems like no one can save you today. Why don't you keep running? His strength isn't strong, but his running skills aren't bad. Another burly man carried a large blade and said while picking his nose, Isn't that so? No wonder the people of this continent are so weak. It seems that they spent all their time on the road. The others agreed. Mao Sanquan and Kong Xiangqi's faces darkened. Not only did the other party want to snatch their things, he was also humiliating them. Hand it over obediently, so that we won't have to chase after you. A person who seemed to be the leader of the group said, This way, you'll be able to save energy and we won't have to worry. Impossible. Kong Sengyi immediately refuted. We will not compromise with you. When Yue and the others arrive, let's see if you can still be so arrogant. Kong Sengyi was originally with Shimin Feng and the others, but after meeting the people from the Kong Valley, he left with them. Now, she didn't know if their distress signal would reach her. In fact, they had never seen such a strange distress signal before. Yue will definitely come. Everyone, hold on a little longer. Mao Sanquan said to everyone. The other party was curious. It seemed like these people were looking forward to meeting this person called Sima Yue. Since that's the case, I'll deal with you first. Then, I'll wait here for the person you're talking about. Let's see how good she is and how much you're looking forward to. Are you saying you want to wait for me? Sima Yue's voice came from the sky. Then, the item in Mao Sanquan's hand emitted a white light. Wherever the white light shone, a spatial tunnel opened. Sima Yue led a group of people out. She had a beautiful head and beautiful eyebrows. Her black hair and long skirt danced in the wind. In an instant, she had mesmerized the group of people below. There was actually such a stunning woman in this world. When Kong Sengyi saw Sima Yue, a hopeful smile appeared on their faces. Yue, you're finally here. We thought you couldn't hear our request. Kong Sengyi said, I designed it myself. How can it be useless? Sima Yue glanced at them. Luckily, the number of people didn't decrease by much. Kong Sengyi looked around and didn't see Shimin Feng. He was a little disappointed. The people from Heartbreak Valley were all here. Why didn't he see him? Feng is behind us. He'll be here soon, Sima Yue said. Then, she and Wu Lingyu landed in front of Mao Sanquan and the others. Director Mao, are you okay? We're fine, Mao Sanquan said. Those people don't look easy to deal with. You brought these people here. I'm afraid. We still have a lot of people, Sima Yue said. I just met up with the people from Heartbreak Valley. They're all behind us. The people from the outer region saw that they kept coming. Moreover, the people who came were quite powerful. Their faces gradually became serious. Destroy that tunnel. Don't let anyone come out. Yes, boss. A few people condensed their spiritual energy and wanted to attack the space exit. However, it was dissolved before they could get close. The people from Heartbreak Valley stood in a row in the air. They looked at the people below aggressively. With them here, who would dare to touch this space tunnel? Boss, these people seem different from the ones before. They look much fiercer. Nonsense, I can see it. The boss patted the person who spoke. The people from Heartbreak Valley were full of murderous intent and hostility. How could the people from the academy compare to them? He could see it without saying. Sima Yue turned around and looked at those people. Seems like our luck is not bad. We just robbed a group of people, and there's another group of people who sent themselves to our mouth. Such a good fat piece of meat. Everyone, don't let it go. Boss, don't worry. We'll definitely pluck all the feathers from a goose. We won't leave a single strand of hair for him. And he licked his lips and said excitedly. Shimin Feng brought the last people out of the space tunnel. Seeing that Kong Sengyi was safe, his hanging heart finally settled down. Feng! Kong Sengyi saw Shimin Feng and waved at him. Shimin Feng nodded at her and then ordered the people from Heartbreak Valley. Follow the original plan. Yes, Valley Lord. The people from Heartbreak Valley obeyed the order and attacked them. Wasn't the original plan to counter the robbery? They would definitely execute it well. The people from Kong Valley and the Academy didn't know what their original plan was. However, they soon understood. Seeing them beat the other party to the ground and then rob them like robbers, everyone felt like they were in a mess. Looking at Sima Yue's perfect combination of holiness and hooliganism, they really couldn't see through her. Boss, these people aren't as fat as the previous ones. And he came over and said with pursed lips, there are so many people. They look good, but are useless. Sima Yue sighed. Boss, do you want to kill them? What was our original plan? Sima Yue asked. Robbing, but not killing. We're not bloodthirsty people. We'll let them go this time. If they know what's good for them, they'll take a detour whenever they see us. If they want to take revenge on us, that's good. The brothers in the little realm heard that your days are so comfortable. They also want to come out and stretch their muscles. When those people heard that the people in the little realm were willing to come out, it didn't matter if they let them go. Thus, they kicked those people away. Those people didn't dare to stay. They left while supporting each other. These people were simply evil stars. They were so powerful. If they saw them, they would probably take a detour. As they left, the news of a group of robbers appearing in the primordial lands spread throughout the immortal land. Those who heard the news were stunned. Who was so bold? Who dared to rob the people of Feng Chi continent? Reading background default settings: classic light, blue classic light, gray classic, green classic bright, yellow dark blue, ocean autumn, abundant green, elegant red powder, aristocratic family red talk, thick sea, wide sky, broken heart pass, snow white world, gray world, font color default settings, white, red, green, blue, brown, font size default settings, small, medium, large, speed, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 1, 0, mouse scroll description, 1 to 10. 1 is the slowest, 10 is the fastest. Chapter 12:12. Daring to rob the people of Feng Chi continent. In other people's eyes, they naturally ate leopard guts. Wasn't this courting death? Everyone was curious about which force was so daring. After the people of the primordial lands learned that it was Sima Yue's Heartbreak Valley, they all showed an expression of realization. If the robbers were from Heartbreak Valley, they wouldn't find it strange at all. Who were those people in Heartbreak Valley? They used to be outlaws. Robbing them? Wasn't that asking for trouble? Besides, Yue was never afraid of trouble. Otherwise, she wouldn't have done so many things in the primordial lands. That year in the Dark Forest, she was just a little girl who had just advanced to god rank. She dared to kill so many monarch rank experts. With this kind of courage, why would she be afraid of the people of Fengqi continent? But the people of Fengqi continent didn't know about this. They only knew that someone dared to rob the people of their continent. Although they didn't know each other before coming in, everyone had the same thought. They came from the same place and couldn't bear to see others being bullied. In fact, everyone understood this. Normally, they might fight until the sky turned dark, but once they went out, they would still think that this was their hometown, this was their classmate. Putting aside the internal strife for now, the most important thing was to unite against the common enemy. So when they knew that someone dared to rob them, the people of Fengqi continent were furious. A little trash dared to make a move against them? He must be tired of living. Those people were clamoring to teach the people of Heartbreak Valley a lesson. When the people of Primordial Lands heard this, they laughed in their hearts. Go, go, go. Send yourself to Heartbreak Valley and let them torture you. Even if they couldn't beat the other party, there would always be someone who could take care of them. Sima Yue didn't know much about what was happening outside. Although she had guessed that the two groups of people would spread the news, she didn't expect it to cause such a huge reaction in paradise. Sima Yue found an empty spot and brought Sima Lu Feng, Sima Lu Yun, Deja, and the group of ghost clansmen out. Now that they were outside, she couldn't let them stay in the little realm forever. However, this time, Wu Lamai and Shui Qingman also came out together. They had been recuperating in the little realm for the past few years. It was only because Shui Qingman's body was slightly weak after giving birth that she decided to stay in the little realm. Now that they heard that there were other people coming and that the Violet Water Dragon tribe might encounter those people, the two of them decided to come out. Others didn't know who Sima Lu Feng and the others were, but Shimin Feng and Wu Lingyu knew. After the group of people met and exchanged greetings, they discussed how to deal with the people from Fengqi continent. Deja didn't care about those people. He only cared about her. Once you spread the news, the Ghost Clan will come looking for trouble with you again. I'll stay with you for this period of time to deal with the Ghost Clan. We'll be more familiar with each other. Deja's words carried an irrefutable force. Sima Yue was also worried that it would be dangerous for them to meet those people when they left, so she agreed to his suggestion. Sima Yue originally thought that Sima Lu Feng and the others would look for Sima Chi Chi and the others after they came out. After all, it would be dangerous for the younger generation to walk alone. But Sima Lu Yin left for a while and came back to say that Great Elder and the others had already found Sima Exine Shu and the others. There was no need for them to go back. He even said that Great Elder wanted them to represent the Sima family to protect her safety. Sima Yue pursed her lips. Represent the Sima family to protect her safety? Her lips twitched. These people's words were really better than singing. If she didn't have these talents, if she didn't have that background, would the Sima family still care about her so much? The answer was naturally no. Sima Lu Yun saw her sarcastic gaze and understood her thoughts. He stretched out his hand and knocked on her head, saying, "There's no such thing as if. Even if there is, you're still a member of the Sima family." Sima Yue clutched her head. Why did this guy knock on her head? It hurts. Moreover, she was just thinking about it. She didn't do anything. You can't even think about it. Sima Lu Yun said, "Before you leave the immortal land, we'll follow you. If something really happens to you, you'll have to step over our dead bodies." Sima Yue was a little touched. If it was really like what she thought, she didn't know how the Sima family would treat her. But these two uncles would definitely treat her the same as before. Everyone rested for a few days. She thought that the first to find trouble would be the people from Fengqi continent. That was also the reason why she let those people leave. If the people from Fengqi continent knew about it, they might come to take revenge on them. This way, they could openly rob them. But she didn't expect that the first to come will be the Ghost Clan. These Ghost Clansmen didn't come in the beginning. They were sent by the Anaheim after she killed Yudu, so these people weren't here to look for treasures. They were here to kill her. She looked at the Ghost Clansmen surrounding them and said to Wu Lingyu, These people don't seem weak. Anaheim sent them to kill you. Naturally, they aren't weak. Deja saw that she wasn't nervous at all. He thought that this cousin of his was really fearless. But thinking about her performance during this period of contact, wasn't her personality like this? The same personality as his aunt. Those ghost clansmen saw that Deja and Sima Yue were together in a protective posture. They shouted coldly, "Deja, are you going against the king and queen's orders?" "Order? What order? I didn't receive any order," Deja said with a cold face. "This is my friend. If you want to kill my friend, then you can't." He didn't want to expose Sima Yue's identity yet. If those people hadn't seen Yukaluo before, even if they felt the ghost clan's aura on her, they wouldn't think of Yukaluo. "Deja, don't use your mother's identity as a princess to do whatever you want. If you dare to go against the king's orders, even your mother can't save you." When have I, Deja, care about these things?" Deja sneered. "Master, there's no need to talk nonsense with these people," Ghostmaster said. These people were death warriors. They only listened to the king and queen's orders. No matter what they said, they wouldn't waver. "Ghostmaster, as a royal guard, you refuse to follow the king's orders. It seems like you don't want the other half of the soul." Ghostmaster's face under the cloak darkened. He said in a low voice, "That's why we can't let you escape. We'll go back and report this. As long as you don't say anything, the king won't know." Before he even finished speaking, he had already moved to attack. Once he attacked, both sides started fighting. Deja's guards also joined in the battle. Sima Yue stood at the side and frowned when she heard their words. The other half of the soul. Chapter 12-13. However, Ioni soon understood what they were talking about, because he saw a group of people walking towards them. The other party's aggressive look showed that they were here to rob them. Another group of fat sheep. Someone from the other side said, looking at Sima Yue and the others with shining eyes. Especially when he saw her and Shimin Li's charming appearance. He was drooling. "Boss, there's a pretty girl." Those people swept their lustful eyes over Sima Yue and the others. It was as disgusting as one could imagine. It seems that not only can we rob treasures today, but we can also snatch a few pretty girls back to play with. Our luck is really good today. The boss laughed. When they said that, the faces of the people from Broken Intestines Valley darkened. How dare they have such disgusting thoughts about their boss? They really don't want to live anymore. They originally wanted to tease Ioni, but now they all stood up and were ready to teach these people a lesson. They were all outlaws from Blood Evil City. Once they released their aura, how could ordinary people compare to them? Just the murderous intent alone made the other party's aura weaken. Some of them even felt weak in the legs. Look at them. They must have robbed a lot of people recently. If that's the case, we can't just let them go. Let's be the fisherman behind the sandpiper and the clams fight. Sima Yue smiled. She was in a good mood. Since the people from that continent liked to rob, they would give them a taste of their own medicine. They would rob all the things that they robbed. Of course, the things that were in her hands would belong to her. Naturally, they would not return them to those people. This is a good deal. It's much better than risking our lives to find those treasures. And Ioni laughed. The others agreed and took out their weapons one by one. If that's the case, let's start with these people. We can ignore the others, but we can't let go of those dirty things. Brothers, let's do it. Sima Yue and Shimin Feng did not need to say anything. The people from Broken Intestine Valley attacked together. Although some of the opponents were stronger, their overall strength was far weaker than theirs. Soon, those people were taken down by the people from Broken Intestine Valley. Sima Yue and Wu Lingyu stood at the back and did not do anything. Shimin Li wanted to help, but she was stopped by Sima Yue. This was a real fight. Li was still young, and her strength was not low. It was better not to join in the fun. The people who showed lustful and evil eyes to Sima Yue were all killed. Not a single one was spared. The people from Broken Intestine Valley were very protective of Sima Yue. They did not dare to show such thoughts to her. They could not bear to sully her. But these people still dared to come and pull the teeth out of the tiger's mouth. They must be tired of living. As the others did not have too many grievances, they did not take their lives. They only asked them to hand over their spatial rings. That person did not agree at first. They had always been the ones robbing others. When had they ever been robbed? But after killing a few people, they realized that these people were not simple sect disciples. They really knew how to kill people. Those people had no choice but to obediently hand over their spatial rings and erase their connection with them. The people from Broken Intestine Valley took their spatial rings, took out all the things inside, and returned the empty spatial rings to them. Here, subordinates. The spatial rings are returned to you. We're still very good. Those people did not forget to put gold on their faces. Sima Yue looked at them and remembered the time when she was with Fatty Chu and the others. Fatty Chu would always actively plunder those people's spatial rings, leaving no treasures behind. She wondered how they were now. When they left, they said that they would go to the small world for 10 years. Now that she calculated the time, they should be out soon. It was a pity that she was still in the immortal realm. They would not be able to see her even if they returned. She really missed them. While she was in a daze, Ani and the others had already robbed them clean. Although those people were unwilling, they were no match for the power of Broken Intestine Valley. They could only run away with their tails between their legs. Do they really think that they're strong just because they came from that side? When they meet someone with a strong fist, they still run away quickly. And Ioni commented, when they meet someone strong, they still run away. Are they stupid? Sima Yue said with a smile. Quick, look at what you got. Boss, Valley Master, these people might have robbed a lot of people before. They have a lot of things. They are not any worse than ours. He said, if it's not that they have more people than us, then it's because their continent is better than ours. Shimin Feng said, their average strength is higher than ours. It is true that their environment is much better. No matter what they are, after leaving the immortal realm, we will not have any interactions, Sima Yue said. Sima Yue said, that's why there's no need to hold back. Even if he's the heavens outside, he's just a worm here. There's no need to worry. Do you understand? Understood, Deputy Valley Master. The people of Broken Intestine Valley answered in unison. Similarly, our background doesn't have any effect on them. They will not care about Little Peng's identity, nor will they care about whether the bird race is supporting us. So, you must be careful when you're outside. If you really can't beat them, running away is not a shameful thing. It is better than losing your life. Sima Yue said, we understand. They were all people who lived on the edge of a knife. After going through so many years, they all understood these principles. However, they still believed that as long as she was there, they would be fine. Towards her, they had a kind of blind trust. All right, little boy, take inventory of these things. The rest of you, take a rest. The battle just now was quite tiring. Sima Yue said, although Shimin Feng was the Valley Master in name, and she was the person that everyone sincerely wanted to pursue, it was still Bai Sheng who was in charge of the affairs of the valley. Without him, they would not be able to live so leisurely now. Bai Sheng had originally followed Sima Yue only because of what she said in the past. He still wanted to take revenge one day. But now, he was willing to endure hardship as if it were malt. Sima Yue pulled Shimin Feng and Shimin Li to some intimate words. The siblings had been separated for so many years and had gone through so many things they still wanted to chat more. Suddenly, there was a slight fluctuation in the air. Then, a spatial passage appeared in front of everyone. However, no one came out from inside. Sima Yue stood up from the rock and looked at the spatial passage. They are in danger. This book came from. Chapter 12:14. The battle between the ghost race and the ghost race was filled with the aura of death and darkness, which made the humans present uncomfortable. Perhaps this was the reason why they rejected the ghost race. However, since one of them was Boss's brother, and the other party was here to kill her, the people of Heartbreak Valley naturally would not sit back and watch. They all joined in the battle. Sima Yue summoned Little Birdie and looked at the little flame in her hand. Can you differentiate between friend and foe? Xiao Burke nodded. What was so difficult about this? Both of them were wearing different clothes. Sima Yu understood what it was thinking and said, "Go ahead then." Because the two sides were not far from each other, little birdie did not spread her flames too far. She only turned them into the size of a millstone and shuttled through the battlefield of the ghost clan. As soon as it appeared, it immediately caused a huge change in the situation between the two sides. Both sides of the ghost clan feared it from the bottom of their hearts. The people on D Jisai were fine. They knew that it was Sima Yoyue's flame and would not hurt them. The people on the other side were not so good, because they found that the flames were targeting them. Those who were weaker were instantly burned to ashes by the flames. This flame, could it be? They stared at the flames with their eyes wide open, as though they couldn't believe what they were seeing. Who? Little birdie was very happy. Every time it saw these things, it would be very happy. Whenever this guy was happy, he would get carried away. The flames grew stronger and stronger, forcing the people on Deja's side to retreat to avoid being caught in the crossfire. The ghosts sent by the Anaheim were somewhat depressed. Before they came, they did not know that Sima Yue had such a powerful flame. Even if they knew, it would not change anything. They still had to come, but at the very least, he could make more preparations. Seeing how powerful little birdie was, they had no choice but to turn their attention to it. However, their attacks had no effect on it at all. Instead, they were all burned away by it. The flames burned even more fiercely. The people on Deja's side were scared silly when they saw this scene. If this flame was used against them, they were afraid that they wouldn't be able to survive. Seeing that they couldn't win, the remaining people wanted to escape. But as soon as they turned around, they saw the Ghost Master standing behind them. "I told you to stay, so don't leave," the Ghost Master said. The other party's expression darkened and released a group of wraiths to attack him. "They're ghosts. I like it." A delicate voice sounded out, and before the evil spirits could even get close to the Ghost Master, they were all sucked away by a powerful force. The tamed evil spirits were even more difficult to deal with. Even a Ghost Master would have to expend a lot of effort to deal with a group of evil spirits, but he didn't expect her to react so quickly. She immediately took out the 100 Ghost banner and sucked the evil spirits away. 100 Ghost Streamer? Those people were shocked when they saw the 100 Ghost Streamer in Sima Yoyue's hand. Why did she have all the nemesis of the ghost race? Sima Yoyu watched as the 100 Ghost banner absorbed those ghosts, and the corner of her mouth hooked up into a huge smile. "This thing is so useful. I won't have to be afraid of ghosts in the future, right?" She muttered a few words and then said to those people, "Do you have any more ghosts? If you do, release them all together. It just so happens that I didn't receive any souls in the ancient battlefield. You can help me reduce my losses." The other party's face was as black as charcoal. Not only did she snatch their evil spirits, she even said such words. It was an insult to them. They couldn't win against little birdie in a head-on attack. If they released the evil spirits, they would be subdued immediately. Then what was the point of fighting? Half an hour later, the people who came to kill her were all killed. A pile of life cards in the ghost realm turned to dust. The people who guarded the life cards heard the commotion inside and went in to take a look. They were shocked and quickly reported the news to Anaheim. When Anaheim heard that the people she sent were killed, she was so angry that she flipped the table in front of her. Her delicate facial features were distorted due to anger. She didn't look like the queen of the ghost race at all. Anaheim was so angry that her whole body was trembling. He was just a human, but he caused her to lose so many soldiers. How could she take this lying down? Send more people. If I don't kill this brat, I swear I won't rest. Anaheim shouted. "Queen!" A man came in from outside. That handsome face calmed down the furious Anaheim. "Why are you here?" Anaheim sat back in her seat and asked the person who came in. "I heard that the queen is angry. I was afraid that you would hurt your body, so I came to take a look." The man casually found a seat and sat down. It was obvious that he had a high status in front of Anaheim. How can I not be angry when something like this happened? Anaheim clenched her fists. She was very angry. Seeing the man, she said, "Mou, why don't you go and help me?" Mou acted as if he didn't hear Anaheim's words. He took out tea and water and slowly brewed a pot of tea. He poured a cup for Anaheim, then picked up the remaining cup and gently shook it. Then he opened his mouth and said, "You know, I've always disliked your useless son. You want me to avenge him. Do you think it's possible?" Anaheim just spoke without thinking. Seeing that you didn't immediately answer her, she had already guessed the result. So when she heard him say that, she didn't feel surprised. "I was just saying," she explained. "I know." You took a sip of tea. The tea in the human world is really delicious. "Unfortunately, I don't have much left. If you want, I'll have someone send it to you." Anaheim took a sip and put it down. She wasn't interested in the tea in the human world, but if he liked it, she would make it. "No need." You directly refused. "The tea you sent is delicious, but it's not the kind that I love to the bone. So I plan to look for it myself." "You want to go to the human world?" Anaheim said in surprise. "I haven't been there for a long time. Maybe the human world has already cultivated a very good tea. I want to look for it." You said. "Then when are you going?" "I don't know. Maybe tomorrow, or maybe many years later. If I want it one day, I'll go." "You're always so unpredictable," Anaheim said helplessly. "I still have some things to take care of. When I go to the human world, if your people haven't taken care of her, I might be able to help you investigate her. But don't think of making me do it." You closed his eyes and smelled the fragrance of the tea. This tea was really fragrant. "If you're willing to do it, she'll definitely die. But you're not willing," Anaheim said indifferently. "But if you're willing to investigate her, you'll definitely be able to find useful information for me. You're not sending people to the immortal land?" You raised his eyebrows. At this time, Anaheim had already calmed down. Since it's useless to send so many people, it's useless to send more people. "I'll wait for your news, if she can get out of the immortal land alive." Chapter 12:15. Don't rush to play after reading it. Remember to vote for a monthly vote first. From now on, you can enjoy double the monthly votes for the 515 Fan Festival. You can also take a look at other activities that give out red packets. When Sima Yue got closer, she realized that the competition had already started. She didn't know what the competition was, but from the looks of it, the primordial lands had lost. Because the morale of the primordial lands was low, the other side was mocking and ridiculing them. Seeing that Sima Yue had arrived, the dejected people's eyes lit up with hope. Elder Yue, a man wearing a robe embroidered with the symbol of the Alchemist Guild, clasped his hands towards Sima Yue. "Elder Yue, you are finally here. Did you compete just now?" Sima Yue asked. "Yes, a few competitions have already started." "What was the result?" "All defeated." Sima Yue paused. "You lost all of them?" The other party said that because we haven't invited anyone yet, it's just a competition for fun, and the final results won't be counted. However, this is also a great blow to our morale. The other party is quite good at attacking the mind." Sima Yue snorted and walked towards the Alchemist Guild. When she saw the newly appointed vice president, she bowed and greeted Vice President Lu. Lu Hai was anxious. When he saw Sima Yue, he said happily, "Yue, you're finally here. The competition is about to start. I thought they wouldn't be able to find you." "It's starting so soon? Didn't you say 1 month?" Sima Yue asked curiously. "It's almost a month's time, but we haven't found many people." Lu Hai said, "Alchemists and weapon refiners are okay. We have them here, but the other professions are not very good. The people who went out hadn't returned yet. I don't know if I can find it." "When will it officially start?" Sima Yue asked. "Tomorrow at noon." There was less than a day left. It seemed like this was going to be a bit troublesome. "Take a look at the situation first. They're calling me over there. I'll go over first." Lu Hai pointed to the group of people over there. Sima Yue took a look. These people were the leaders of the more influential forces in the continent. Among them was even the Sage Pavilion's vice Pavilion Master Tang Yin. When Tang Yin saw her, he nodded at her and continued talking with the people around him. The people beside him were curious. This Tang Yin was indifferent to everyone, but now he actually took the initiative to nod to others. They turned their heads to take a look, but they didn't see anyone powerful. Lu Hai came back after a while. Sima Yue was surprised by his speed. Yue, I just had a discussion with the others. If we can't find someone from the 100 Changing Doors, we would like to invite you to the Array Master competition. Lu Hai went straight to the point. Me? You're a formation master as well. Based on the teleportation and spatial ceiling you displayed in Cloud Sea City, I presume your attainment in formations isn't low. Lu Hai said, if I can't find it before the competition, can you go as well? That's fine too, but I don't know if I can win. Sima Yue replied. We believe in you. Lu Hai said, but you don't have to feel pressured. Just do your best. A good formation master might not necessarily know spatial ceiling and teleportation, but one who could teleport and spatial ceiling was definitely a good formation master. This was something that everyone understood. So even though Lu Hai said not to feel pressured, they still believed that Sima Yue could do it. Lu Hai sighed in his heart. If he didn't know her age and didn't see her with his own eyes, he wouldn't dare to believe that such a person existed. But why were there so few talented juniors? Sigh, thinking that he still hadn't found everyone, he sighed unconsciously. Vice President, what are you worried about? Sima Yue regretted asking this. Why did she ask so much? If he didn't say it, she could pretend that she didn't know. But if he said it, she couldn't help but want to help. Sure enough, Lu Hai was worried about finding people. When the people in the guild are in charge of alchemy. We also have people from the Weapon Craftsman Guild for refining weapons. If we really can't find anyone for arrays, we still have you. But there's still no sign of beast tamers and seeker spirit masters. Lu Hai said, do they have all these professional masters? Sima Yue asked. Yes. Lu Hai said, many of the other party's people are professional masters, and their forces are very complete. They're all very powerful. Seems like they came prepared. Sima Yue said, it's impossible for a random force to have so many powerful professional masters. But that doesn't make sense. Little Seven said, they are obviously stronger than us. Why do they have to hold such a competition? Robbing is just a short period of time. Even if we are weaker than them, it's impossible for everyone to be robbed by them. What they want is the long term. Sima Yue said, after all, if there's any big opportunity in the immortal land, it's more important than robbing others. Then they can just chase our people away after finding the opportunity. Little Seven said, if you see the treasure, will you leave? Sima Yue asked. Little Seven shook her head. But they can use force to chase people away. If you fight with others and weaken your own strength, not only will it be disadvantageous in the later treasure hunt, others might also take advantage of a loophole and snatch the opportunity. It's not worth it to lose the treasure. Sima Yue said, their continent isn't a whole. There are close and distant relationships between each force. Just like the people from the primordial lands, before they met the people from the Feng Qi continent, they also fought to snatch the opportunity. And now, when facing the people from the outer region, they were still united. Little Seven thought about it and agreed. If they could exclude the people from the primordial lands, then the other party would have a lot more advantage in the later treasure hunt. This also explained why those people had come prepared. We don't have a good Seeker Spirit Master and Beast Tamer now. If we lose in these two aspects, the other three must win, then the pressure will be a bit high. Lu Hai sighed. Then let's put these two competitions at the end, to buy more time for the people who go out to search. Maybe we'll find them by then. Sima Yue said. I hope so. Lu Hai sighed and left. He had no confidence in the later competitions. When he walked far away, Little Seven asked the question in her heart. Yu, why didn't you say you're a Beast Tamer and Seeker Spirit Master just now? If they can find a person, I don't have to reveal these two. It's best if Imperial Beastard and Soul Seeking are not known by others. Although she wasn't afraid of others knowing, it was always good to have less trouble. Bang! The sound of the duel attracted everyone's attention. Sima Yue turned her head and saw that the people from Heartbreak Valley were fighting with others. Thank you for your continuous support. This time 515 Fan Festival. I hope you can support the Writers Hall of Glory and the overall work selection. Also, there are some red packets for the Fan Festival. Take them and continue your subscription. Reading background default settings: classic light, blue classic light, gray classic green classic bright, yellow dark blue, ocean autumn, abundant green, elegant red powder, family red talk, thick sea wide sky, heartbroken past, snow white world, gray world. Font color default settings: white red green blue brown. Font size default settings: small medium large. Speed 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 1 0. Mouse scroll description 1 to 10. 1 is the slowest, 10 is the fastest. Chapter 12:16. Read 336. It's someone from the outer realm. Little Seven said when she saw the person fighting against Feng Kai. Sima Yue shifted her gaze from the sky to the ground. Seeing a few people who were beside themselves with joy, she snorted coldly. Those people that we robbed before, now they have found a helper. You got guts just because you found a helper? Little Seven rolled up her sleeves and ran over without waiting for Sima Yue. Those people still remembered the power of Little Seven's beating. So when they saw Little Seven running over, the group of people on the ground subconsciously shrank their necks. It seems like you guys didn't learn your lesson last time. Little Seven wanted to beat them up when she saw them, but she was stopped by Sima Yue, who rushed over. Now is not the time to fight. Don't add to the chaos. We'll talk about it after this matter is over. She grabbed Little Seven's arm with one hand and wrapped the other around her neck, holding her tightly. Little Seven didn't dare to break free from her and could only give up with a pout. When the people of Heartbreak Valley saw Little Seven's adorable look, they could not help but laugh. It was rare to see a spirit beast that loved to fight so much. Moreover, its appearance and personality were inversely proportional. If she didn't move, no one would be able to tell. Bang! After a fierce collision, Shimin Feng and his opponent both flipped a few times and stopped in the air. The opponent's realm is about the same as your brother's, but his combat power is weaker. Wu Lingyu came to Sima Yue's side and said, "He's quite handsome." Sima Yue sighed when she saw the other party's appearance. "He's just a pale-faced young man. What's there to see?" Wu Lingyu said with a dark expression. That man looked at Shimin Feng and was a little surprised at his fighting strength. The two of them were clearly at the same level, so why was his combat power stronger than his? "You're not bad," he praised from the bottom of his heart. "You're stronger than the ones I've met on your continent." "You are also not bad," Shimin Feng replied. He could see that the other party was also a gentleman during the battle. If they hadn't met at this time, they might have become friends. Two white-robed elders flew over and said to Shimin Feng and the man, "The competition is about to begin. No matter what grudges you have, please wait until after the competition." These two old men seemed to have a high status in Fengqi continent. As soon as they opened their mouths, the other party, who was still yelling, immediately quieted down. "Fenger!" Sima Yue called out softly, signaling him to stop. Shimin Feng nodded and flew back to her side. "Let's find a place to set up camp," Sima Yue said. If the competition was going to go on for a few days, it would be better to find a campsite. "Okay," Shimin Feng replied. "You and she." The man said a sentence without any head or brain. But Shimin Feng understood what he meant. His footsteps paused, turned around, and said, "Shimin Feng." "Shimin Feng, I remember." "You and she said, 'I'll remember you too.'" Shimin Feng turned and left after he finished speaking. The people of Heartbreak Valley followed him. The people of Fengqi continent came up and said, "Young Master Yuan, why did you tell the people of that continent your name?" Yuan Shi looked at the man, didn't say anything, turned and left. This fight was just a small episode. It didn't stir up much waves. And those people who were robbed by Sima Yue were very angry when they saw them, but they didn't dare to take revenge on them. They could only try to glare at them. It was a pity that this level of lethality was of no use to Sima Yue and the people of Heartbreak Valley. They still walked around the arena every day, making those people gnash their teeth in anger, but helpless. When the competition started at noon the next day, the people who were looking outside didn't come back. The competition between the two sides officially began. Vice Pavilion Master Tang. In order to save everyone's time and show the fairness of the competition, why don't we simplify the competition and let the youngest person in each profession go up? How about it? When the people of Primordial Lands heard their words, they wanted to scold them for being too cunning. They actually thought of taking advantage of this loophole. In terms of strength, the people of Feng-Chi continent were generally younger than the people of Primordial Lands. If they said that, wouldn't they win for sure? And the people who knew Sima Yue were happy. Comparing age? In the entire Immortal Land, who was younger than Sima Yue? The other party made such a request. It was simply digging a huge hole for themselves. Sima Yue was stunned when she heard the other party's request. Were these people crazy? The other party saw that the people of Primordial Lands had a strange expression and thought that they were hesitant to agree because they weren't sure of winning. Pavilion Master Chun, are you sure? Tang Yun asked. This is the result of our discussion. Pavilion Master Chun said, time in Immortal Land is so precious. We have already wasted a month to find people for you. If we slowly compete later, what opportunities are we looking for? This. Tang Yun and Lu Hai were a bit embarrassed. Do you really want to waste time on the competition? Pavilion Master Chun looked at them aggressively. You have that time, but we don't. That's not what we meant. Tang Yun said, we were just thinking that if we let the youngest person compete, wouldn't it be too sloppy? What if you say later that you can't decide anything and don't admit the result of the competition? Sima Yue lowered her head and held back her laughter. She couldn't tell that this Tang Yun was quite two-faced. By saying that, wasn't he waiting for the other party to continue digging holes? How can we not admit it? Under the eyes of so many people, we can't go back on our words. Pavilion Master Chin said, do we really want to compete like this? Lu Hai asked. Yes. Pavilion Master Chin said, we took a look. The youngest professional master on our side is less than 100 years old. If you don't have anyone under 100 years old, we can also accept you sending someone older. But there is a condition. You must send the youngest. The leaders of Feng-Chi continent saw that Tang Yun and the others were embarrassed and felt a bit proud. A few days ago, they had already found out that the level of the youngest professional masters on the other side was not as high as theirs. Even if they found some younger people in the past few days with the qualifications of their continent, it was impossible for their strength to be higher. So in this competition, they would definitely win. All right, since you said so, then let's do it this way. Tang Yun said, both sides will send their youngest professional masters to compete. No matter who wins or loses, no one is allowed to object to the result of the competition. All right, Pavilion Master Chin yelled. Step forward. Pavilion Master Chin shouted. 5 people came out from Feng-Chi continent. Each of them had the usual arrogance of a genius. On the Primordial continent side, Sima Yue and another girl stood up. Chapter 12:17. Seeing the 2 girls from Primordial Lands, the people of Feng-Chi continent all laughed. Vice Pavilion Master Tang, isn't a month's time enough for you to find him? Pavilion Head Chun felt that he had been played. Even if they had thought of this method, if the other party used this method to fight, even if they really won, it wouldn't be justifiable. They could play some tricks, but they couldn't make it so obvious. Pavilion Master Chun, don't be angry. These 2 are the youngest professionals here. Tang Yun said, and both of them are within 100 years old. Even if they are, why are there only 2 of them? Where are the other 3? You asked for the youngest person in each class to come out, so we can only have the 2 of them. Lu Hai said, can the 2 of them complete all 5 events? The people from the Primordial Lands looked at Sima Yue with a different gaze. In this case, at least one of them knew 2 things, while the other knew 3 things. A spirit master with multiple professions was not a common sight in their continent. In order to cultivate and go further in their own field, they would not choose a variety of professions. Instead, they would focus on one of them. He didn't expect that there would be such a person on this continent. Indeed, he was from a small place and didn't have a long-term vision. Pavilion Master Chun, since you've set this rule, we can only comply with it. Otherwise, wouldn't it be against your rules? What if we don't admit it when we win? Tang Yun said with a smile. Since you've decided, you'll have to admit it when the time comes. You can't go back on your words if you lose. I won't. Tang Yun smiled and said, then let's begin. All right, since you have fewer people, you could decide the order of the competition. In order to make the effect even more shocking, they chose to let another person compete first. This is our refiner, Xiaohong. She will compete with you in the first round. Lu Hai introduced. After saying that, the woman beside Sima, Yue, took a step forward and looked at the 5 people in front of her. As an armament master, her body was much stronger than the average woman, so she didn't look that good. A burly man from the other side walked out, looking at her with a gaze full of disdain. Refining tools required a lot of strength. How far could a girl train? If he wanted to beat her, it would only be a matter of minutes. However, even if he won, it wouldn't be glorious. If it wasn't for this kind of occasion, he definitely wouldn't have agreed. Let's begin. Xiaohong took out her cauldron and said. The man on the other side didn't even introduce himself. He took out his cauldron and started refining. In a competition like this, they were competing to see who had the highest grade. Therefore, they wanted to refine the highest grade that they could, regardless of the length of time. Sima Yue retreated to the side and watched the match. She realized that both of their levels were average. Perhaps it was because of their young age, they were not good enough to make her blood boil. If it was Fatty Chu, he would definitely be able to defeat the 2 of them. She said in her heart. What she didn't know was that refining weapons was more difficult than refining pills because it not only involved mental strength, but also physical strength. She had once given Fatty Chu a method to train his mental strength and body, so his starting point was much higher than the average person. Other people might have their own methods, but they definitely couldn't compare to Fatty Chu. She poked Wu Lingyu, who was beside her, and asked, "How is it? Who do you think will win?" Wu Lingyu was sitting on a chair with his head lowered, thinking about something. After being poked by her, he looked up and said, "It's about the same. I reckon that the grade of the weapons refined will be about the same. In the end, the only thing that matters is the difference in time." Sima Yue had watched Fatty Chu refine weapons, so she more or less knew a little about it. She could tell that the 2 of them were about the same level. Seeing that Wu Lingyu was in a daze, she deliberately asked him. She didn't expect him to be able to tell with just one look. The difference was really not small. But thinking about it, this guy was so powerful. Letting him watch this kind of boring competition was indeed making things difficult for him. It was no wonder that he looked so bored and was in a daze with his head lowered. "Do you want to go back first?" she asked softly. "Go back where?" Wu Lingyu was startled. He immediately understood what she meant and said lightly, "They're talking to me through their spirit beasts. Moreover, you're here, so where am I going?" Wherever she was, he would be there. This was how the 2 of them got along. Sima Yoyue's heart was sweet when she heard his words. Then she thought of a problem. She didn't hear that Ba Jiazi and the others had entered the Immortal Land. How did he contact them? Wu Lingyu saw her doubts and reached out to rub her hair. He explained, "I left a spirit beast outside. Even if I'm inside, it can still contact me." What an amazing contract connection. Sima Yoyue's mouth was slightly open. The surprise in her heart was self-evident. "Are you that surprised?" Wu Lingyu looked at her like this, and the corner of his mouth hooked up. But the smile that was like the spring breeze in the past had a trace of evil charm. But this was so damn tempting. She wanted to hug him and take a few bites. The cheers around her woke her up. She finally came back to her senses and patted the hand on her head. Such a powerful contract connection. It's normal for me to be surprised. She turned her head and saw that the person from Fengqi continent was controlling his flame to turn into a fire dragon. That aura was indeed good. No wonder it attracted the applause of the people over there. But this was not enough for her. It was just a small trick, and he had the nerve to show it off. Really young people love to show off. Wu Lingyu looked at her and smiled. "You're the youngest here. Don't give me that." Sima Yue rolled her eyes at him. He knew that she had lived for hundreds of years in her previous life. Compared to these people, although she wasn't old, she wasn't young either. Now every time someone praised her for being so young, she felt like she was pretending to be young. The 2 of them talked and laughed. Time passed in a flash. After a few hours, The refining over there finally came to an end. Wu Lingyu looked at the two of them, finishing up. He looked at Xiao Hong and said, I didn't expect her strength to be here. It seems that this competition will be hard to determine the winner. Xiao Hong was originally a little behind the other party, but she did a good job of finishing up. She actually made up for her previous shortcomings and increased her speed. So, the result that Feng Qi Continent thought was a sure win became a tie because the two of them completed the same grade spiritual weapon at the same time. Tang Yin was very satisfied with Xiao Hong's result and said, Next round, we'll let Sima Yue go up and compete in alchemy. Wait a minute. At this time, the other party's refiner suddenly said, This book came from Chapter 12:18. Everyone turned to look at the man, wondering why he had called out to them at this time. Xiao Hong, who was about to walk back, stopped and turned to look at her. That man cleared his throat and said, We didn't compare age during the competition. Now that the grades are similar, the one who is younger will win. Lu Hai and the rest looked at each other. Seeing the man's confident look, he must have thought that he would win. Then let's test it. The Armament Masters Guild's vice president, He Qindong, said. He Qindong was a man of few words, so Tang Yun and Lu Hai were the ones talking. It was easy for everyone to overlook his existence. Tang Yun and Lu Hai saw that he was very confident and knew that he was confident, so they nodded. Tang Yun looked at Lu Hai and asked, All right, then let's test the age. But I don't have an age testing stone. What about you? I don't have one either, Lu Hai said lightly. Who would carry this on them for no reason? We have one. The refiner took out a transparent, crystal-like stone. Everyone recognized it at a glance. This could test the age of 50 to 200 years old. Then let's test it. You first, Xiao Hong said. All right. That person inserted his spirit energy, and the age-testing stone released a silver light. In the silver light, there was a large number of 89 showing his current age. Not bad. Only 89 years old, and you have such achievements in armament refining. The people from the opposite continent praised from the bottom of their hearts. The hearts of the people from the primordial lands sunk. The other party was only 89 years old. If Xiao Hong was older than him, then they would win this round. Sima Yue turned around and looked around. She realized that the people from the Armament Masters Guild were not worried at all. Some were even smiling, which showed that they were confident. Xiao Hong walked over and took the age-testing stone. After inserting her spirit energy, a silver light flashed in the air and a large number of 79 slapped the other party's face. 79. It's 79. Younger by 10 years. Haha, we won this round. The people from the primordial lands cheered. They didn't expect Xiao Hong to be younger than the other party. Thinking of the other party's insistence on counting their ages, this was great. Originally, it was a tie, but now they had won. Sima Yue had a faint smile on her face. Now that Xiao Hong had won this round, the pressure on her was greatly reduced. She only needed to win 2 more rounds, and the primordial lands would have won. And the people of Feng Qi Continent looked as if they had eaten a fly. Their faces were as ugly as they could be. Stand down. Pavilion head shouldn't be rated. Then he turned to the others and said, Since the age testing stone has been taken out, the rest of you can test it too. Xiao Hong threw the age measuring stone to them and returned to her seat. You're amazing, Sima Yue praised, and then added in her heart, although I'm not as amazing as Fatty Chu. Xiao Hong didn't get carried away. She tucked her hair behind her ear and said, I can't compare to you. I've long heard of your name. I'm looking forward to your next match. Sima Yue smiled. Although this girl was a bit strong, her temperament was not bad. She could be friends with her. She saw that the 4 of them had finished their tests and stood up. I'll try my best. I'm optimistic about you. Good luck. Xiao Hong smiled, revealing 2 cute little canine teeth. Sima Yue returned her smile and walked towards the center of the arena. Although it was called an arena, it was just a flat ground. The remaining 4 people had finished their tests. They were 75, 83, 92, and 98. The other party didn't seem to have any intention of introducing themselves. Sima Yue simply called them by their age. We're all done. It's your turn. 75 threw the age-measuring stone to Sima Yue. They didn't expect the people of primordial lands to win against them. Now that they saw Sima Yue, their faces turned sour. Sima Yue caught the age-measuring stone and flipped it over in her hands. The other party immediately urged impatiently, "Hurry up, don't dilly-dally." Sima Yue glanced at the other party and injected her spiritual power. It was different from the previous silver light and age numbers. This time, the emerald green light that appeared didn't have numbers. Emerald green? Less than 50 years old. Everyone present was stunned. Everyone knew that this age-measuring stone could only test people between 50 and 200 years old. If they were less than 50 years old, it would be emerald green. If they were older than 200 years old, it would be golden yellow. After she injected her spiritual power, it emitted an emerald green light. This meant that she was less than 50 years old. Sima Yue stopped injecting her spiritual power, and the light disappeared. She casually threw the age-measuring stone back. Looking at the four people who were in a daze, she said, "Are you done being surprised? Can we start the competition?" "You're less than 50 years old?" 83 asked in surprise. "How old are you exactly?" "How old I am seems to have nothing to do with this competition. After all, I'm younger than all of you." Sima Yue said, "Which one of you is an alchemist? Can we start the competition?" 75 stood up and said, "Let's start." The others retreated and left the competition to them. Although 75 looked down on Sima Yue because of her age, but because the alchemist lost, he didn't relax the importance of the competition. He took out the herbs and prepared to refine the best pill he could. Sima Yue wasn't in a hurry to start. She waited for 75 to take out the herbs and began to refine the herbs. After seeing the level of the pill he was going to refine, she slowly took out her own furnace and herbs. Seeing her slow appearance, the people from Fengqi continent laughed. Such a little girl dared to accept the challenge. If it was them, they would directly admit defeat and not embarrass themselves here. And those alchemists' faces changed because as soon as Sima Yue began to refine the herbs, they found that her strength was definitely above 75. Everyone waited for a few hours. At first, the people from Fengqi continent watched 75 refine the pill, but later their eyes couldn't help but move to Sima Yue. She looked too good when she was refining pills. Plus, she was beautiful and her movements were elegant. Watching her refine pills was simply a pleasure. Sima Yue finished refining before 75. She put away the pills and tidied up the furnace before 75 finished refining. Although 75 took a little longer, he still believed that he would win against Sima Yue. His level was definitely higher than hers. She was a little girl, less than 50 years old. How high level could she refine? However, the final result left him with no choice but to face reality. Sima Yue merely glanced at the pill in his hand and said lightly, "7th rank pill. You took 15 minutes longer than me. So you lost." Chapter 12:19. He didn't believe that a person who wasn't even 50 years old could win against him. "I do spend more time than you, but my level is also higher than yours. We're looking at levels, not time. Don't be so young that you can't even tell this apart," he said confidently. "I've already said that yours is only a 7th grade pill." Sima Yue said, "That's right." 75 raised his chin proudly. To be able to reach rank 7 at his age was already a heaven-defying talent. Seeing that Sima Yue did not speak, his face was filled with pride. This young lady must have been scared silly by him, which was why she did not speak. Now it seemed that this little girl was quite pretty. She seemed to be called something like you. Just as he was about to ask for her name, Sima Yue took out a pill from the bottle on her table and threw it at him. The pill that had just come out of the furnace was still slightly warm. 7th level advanced. 75 widened his eyes in disbelief. Was he hallucinating? After Sima Yue had successfully concocted the elixir, she did not take it out, so no one knew the grade of the elixir she had concocted. But the Alchemist Guild wasn't worried at all. She was already able to refine 8th grade pills, so wouldn't it be an easy task for her to oppress this kind of trash? But the others couldn't accept it, especially the people of Feng Chi continent. They were just stimulated by her age. Now that they thought about it, who dared to come to the immortal land was an ordinary person. However, a 7th grade high-rank pill master who was not even 50 years old. This was too difficult for them to accept. Sima Yue looked at 75, who was stunned on the spot. He looked at her in disbelief, as if he didn't want to admit that this pill was refined by her. Her face darkened, and she said coldly, under the watchful eyes of everyone, "Don't tell me you think I can cheat? Or are you trying to say that the temperature of this pill is a lie?" When she said that, 75 choked on what he wanted to say, and his face turned red. That's right. How could she cheat in front of so many people? Moreover, everyone had seen her refining process just now. If she hadn't refined it herself, how could others not see it? Are you done? If you're done, please return the pills to me and move to the back. I still have to go to the next round. Sima Yue said. Tang Yin stood up and said, everyone has seen the final result. Pavilion Master Chun, what do you think? The faces of the people on the other side couldn't be any darker. They actually lost 2 matches in a row. However, the result was so obvious that they couldn't even say that there was something fishy going on. Let's move on to the next round. Compete in what? He said with a dark face. This meant that Sima Yue had won the competition. Tang Yin looked at Sima Yue and asked, what are we competing in? Array formation, Sima Yue answered. Pavilion Master Chun, did you hear that? Yue said that we should compete in array formations. Tang Yin smiled and cupped his hands. Or do you want to compete? Don't you need a rest? As an array master, 92 saw that it was still Sima Yue and said, you can change to another person first so that you won't say that we bullied you when you lose. When have you ever won against us? Sima Yue asked back, tell me, how are we going to compete in array formations? Each of us will set up a trap array and let the other party enter. Whoever comes out first will win. 92 said, all right. Sima Yue readily agreed. Then the 2 of them took out array stones and started fiddling with them. The 2 of them were very fast. It seemed that the trap arrays they set up were often fiddled with. However, Sima Yue's speed was still faster. It took a while for 92 to finish setting it up. The 2 of them looked at each other and then walked to each other's array and activated it. 92's face changed the moment he activated Yue's array, because he realized that this was an array that he had never seen before. Most of the array masters from Feng Chi continent were stunned. An array that they had never seen before. How could this continent have such an array? Looking at Sima Yue starting to break the array, and then looking at 92's clueless expression, everyone knew that the result of this competition was more or less set. The people from Primordial Lands were very happy, because winning this competition meant that they had completely won. In the future, Feng Chi continent's people could no longer rob like before. They had priority when they encountered opportunities. They originally thought that it would be a very difficult competition, but they didn't expect to win so easily. After a while, Sima Yue walked out of 92's trap array. 92 was still scratching his head in the array, unable to find a way. Pavilion Master Chun, there's no need to compete in the next 2 competitions, right? Tang Yin said. 3 wins out of 5. Primordial Lands had completely won. It didn't matter if they won or lost in the following competitions. The people from Feng Chi continent didn't react for a long time. Fortunately, they still had a sense of shame and weren't shameless enough to not admit it. So after struggling for a while, they still admitted the final result. You won, Pavilion Master Chen said unwillingly. He was the leader of Feng Chi continent. If he admitted it, it meant that the entire Feng Chi continent admitted it. Sima Yue waited for the other side to admit it before coming to the Dragon Trap array. She closed the array and let 92 out. Then with a wave of her hand, she took back the array stones. Thank you for letting me win, she said to 92 before turning around and walking back. 92's face was very ugly. He originally thought that he would win, but he didn't expect that he couldn't fight back at all. Moreover, the other side wasn't even 50 years old. What qualifications did he have to call himself a genius in the future? He returned to his own camp listlessly. He didn't have his previous high spirits and pride. His entire person was like a frosted eggplant. Since the result is out, there's no need to continue the following competitions. Pavilion Master Chun, thank you for letting me win. Lu Hai said. The people from Primordial Lands cheered. This result was really exciting. Wait a minute. 98 spoke out. Although the competition is over, I still want to compete with your Seeker Spirit Master. Sima Yue, who was walking halfway, stopped. She turned around and looked at the other side. I refuse. Then she went straight back to her seat. The whole scene instantly quieted down. Not only the people from Feng Chi continent, even the people from Primordial Lands were stunned. She was also a Seeker Spirit Master? Damn, was she really human? Such a young alchemist, a Ray Master, and now she was actually a Seeker Spirit Master. Was she really human? I want to compete with your beast tamer. The last person said. I refuse. Sima Yue sat in her seat. The competition is over. I think I have the qualifications to refuse. The whole sunning field was so quiet that even a pin drop could be heard. Some people even suspected that they were hallucinating. She was also a beast tamer. Chapter 1220. After the initial shock, it was followed by laughter and disdain. How can a person have so many different occupations? Isn't this little girl afraid of biting her tongue? The person on the other side said disdainfully. Sima Yue could not be bothered to explain to these people. It did not matter to her whether they believed her or not. Xiao Hong stood up and said, It is true that I only know how to refine weapons. Yue will compete with you in the other 4 classes. Those people were stunned once again. Only 2 people from the other side had come out, and now one of them had clearly denied it. What else did they have to doubt? Although it was a happy thing to see his beloved woman being recognized by everyone, Wu Lingyu still raised his eyebrows when he saw the gazes of those men on Sima Yue. Sima Yue didn't like being in the limelight either. She stood up and said, President, Vice Pavilion Leader Tang, since the competition is over, you don't need me anymore, right? Then please allow Yue to leave first. Without waiting for them to answer, she held Wu Lingyu's hand and disappeared from everyone's sight after a few teleportations. What a powerful teleportation! Everyone sighed. This speed was something that even ordinary array formation masters could not match. What's more, she had brought another person with her, which would affect the situation somewhat. Who would have thought that there would be such a woman in this world, and such a powerful junior? It seems like the Primordial Lands are not as backward as they thought. This was the thought of the people of Feng Chi continent. It was because of this that they restrained themselves and reversed the situation of them robbing as soon as they came in. It was no wonder that Yin Lin would say that she was the key to resolving this crisis. Sima Yue brought Wu Lingyu back to the campsite. Because she was going to participate in the competition, the people from Heartbreak Valley and the Sky Heaven School went to watch her competition. There was no one in the campsite, and it was only protected by the array. Wu Lingyu wanted to return to the camp as soon as possible. But the power of faith in Sima Yue's body had increased by quite a bit. She had no choice but to sit down and rest to prevent the power of faith from going out of control. Sima Yue felt helpless. Why would these people have faith in her? He was going to die because of them. When she thought of how happy she was when she first found out about the power of faith, and how annoyed she was now, she had the urge to vomit blood. All right, it was actually his own body's problem. He couldn't blame anyone else. Although this body had brought her many benefits, she felt that as her strength increased, the power in her body became harder and harder to control. However, Wu Lingyu hadn't told her the solution yet, which meant that she hadn't reached that stage yet. To put it bluntly, it meant that she wasn't strong enough to use that method. By the time she opened her eyes, there were already people walking around outside. This meant that after she left, the others had followed her back. Wu Lingyu was beside her. She was leaning against the couch, still in a daze. She was probably still communicating with the outside world. Sensing that she had woken up, he asked gently, Are you done? Yes. Sima Yue nodded. Senior brother, let me ask you a question. Go ahead. How long until I can solve my body's problem? Wu Lingyu saw that there was a bit of fear in her eyes. He stood up and walked her side. He held her face with both hands and gently kissed her. When you're half a step into the supreme rank, that means it's still too early. Sima Yue was a bit discouraged as she said, "Can I wait until then?" Although Wu Lingyu had waited until then, her situation was different from his. Although he also had the body of a god and devil, he didn't have as many things in his body as her. Moreover, they all restrained each other. If she wasn't careful, things would happen that she couldn't control. Your situation right now is indeed more complicated than mine. However, it's still all right. As long as you don't use them, I won't let anything happen to you. Sima Yue softly replied and didn't say anything else. Even he said that she wouldn't use them. If one day she encountered an emergency and used them, wouldn't her life come to an end? This thought made her heart turn cold. "I'm here." Wu Lingyu hugged her, telling her not to think too much. Sima Yue leaned her head on his body and said, "Actually, I'm not afraid of death. I just can't bear to part with you guys." "I understand." Wu Lingyu said, "Promise me, no matter what, don't use the power in your body, especially the power of faith." Okay. The two of them quietly leaned against each other. After a while, they heard Shimin Feng calling her from outside. The two of them separated. Sima Yue tidied her hair before going out with Wu Lingyu. It turned out that Lu Hai and Tang Yun had come to look for her. "Yue, have you rested well?" Lu Hai asked. Sima Yue just realized that a day had passed since the end of her competition. "I only used up a bit of my spiritual energy. It's not a big deal." Sima Yue said, "Vice President Dian, Vice Pavilion Master Tang, why are you looking for me?" "It's like this. There's some more precious things in our bet with the other party. We gave some to Xiao Hong and sent some to you," Lu Hai said as he took out some boxes. The treasures were all placed in the boxes. The people from Heartbreak Valley couldn't even see what they were. Sima Yue took the boxes and said casually, "Just tell us and we'll go get it. How could we trouble you to come here personally?" "We just came to see you." Lu Hai said, "If it wasn't for you, we would be in trouble. I'm also from the Primordial Lands. In this kind of situation, I should help. Besides, didn't I get a reward?" Sima Yue asked them to sit down. She took out a tea set and water and brewed a pot of tea to serve them, including Wu Lingyu and Shimin Feng. She took out 5 cups and poured a cup of tea for each of them. She used a pair of tweezers to place it in front of them. Wu Lingyu and Shimin Feng had drunk the tea she brewed before, so they didn't find it particularly novel. However, it was Lu Hai and Tang Yun's first time drinking it. The fragrance made them happy. "Your tea is different from the ones we drink elsewhere. The same tea leaves, but the taste is much more fragrant," Tang Yun said. Sima Yue thought in her heart. Her tea leaves looked similar to other places, but this was a product from the Spirit Pagoda. How could normal tea leaves compare? She smiled. Seeing that he finished drinking, she poured another cup for him. "This tea is indeed better than the ones outside," Lu Hai praised. "You got this by chance. If the Vice President and Vice Pavilion Master like it, then Yue will give you 2 cans. I hope you don't mind." Sima Yue smiled and took out 2 cans of tea leaves and handed them to the two. This book came from Chapter 1221. Seeing the 2 cans of tea leaves, Lu Hai and Tang Yun's eyes lit up. Unlike others who like to drink, some people like to drink tea. Lu Hai and Tang Yun were such people. The moment they tasted the tea brewed by Sima Yue, they knew that it was different from the rest. Not to mention her tea brewing skills. The tea leaves alone were priceless. Hence, when they saw Sima Yue giving it to them, they happily accepted it. "Yue, do you have any plans for the future?" Lu Hai asked, basking in the glory of that continent. "This wonderland will probably be open for a while." "I don't know either," Sima Yue said. "Maybe he followed the group and wandered around. Who knows, we might even be able to snatch some fortuitous encounters." She was probably the only one who dared to say that she wanted to snatch him away so blatantly. However, part of the reason for this incident was because she had started to counter-rob, which had caused the other side to change their minds. They drank tea together for a while before Tang Yun and Lu Hai bid farewell and returned with the tea that Sima Yue gave them. There were only 3 Yue left at the temporary tea table. Sima Yue changed to a more fragrant tea and brewed a cup for each of them. They each held their own teacups and enjoyed this temporary peace. By the way, after we left, did those people cause trouble for you? Sima Yue remembered that there were still some people who had opinions about Heartbreak Valley. Because they had been robbed, they might still hold a grudge. Those people, when they see your talent, and think about how you led people to rob them, who would have a mind to deal with us? Shimin Feng said with a smile. With such an awesome Vice Valley Lord, no matter who dared to provoke him, all kinds of array god beasts might appear in the next second. If the other party wasn't strong, they wouldn't have been beaten so badly before. After figuring this out, those people finally quieted down and no longer wanted to find trouble with Heartbreak Valley. After a while, Baisheng walked over and said, Deputy Valley Lord, Xiao Hong is here. She wants to see you. Xiao Hong wants to see me? Sima Yue was surprised. Other than this competition, they didn't have any interactions. Why would she want to see her? Yes, Baisheng said. After all, we have fought together before. Bring her in, Sima Yue said. Baisheng left and quickly brought Xiao Hong in. Xiao Hong saw Sima Yue and Sima Yue were leisurely drinking tea. She was slightly surprised. I didn't expect you and the others to be so leisurely. You're actually sipping tea here. She walked over with a smile. Sima, Yue said Yue. I made Yue, Xiao Hong. Yue. Xiao Hong walked over and saw a cup of freshly brewed tea. She walked over and said, I'm a rough person. I don't know about these things. No matter how good the tea is, it's a waste for me. She took a sip of the tea and continued, but your tea is really fragrant. Sima Yue watched her finish the cup of tea in one gulp and didn't say anything. She picked up the pot of boiling water and poured her another cup of water. She asked as she poured, Why did you think of looking for me? Is something the matter? Actually, it's nothing much. I just wanted to come over and talk to you. Xiao Hong said, You won't blame me for being rude, right? Of course not. Sima Yue said, It's just that you came a little too suddenly, so I thought something was up. Actually, I do have a reason for coming here, Xiao Hong said awkwardly. What's the matter? Just say it. Sima Yue said. Xiao Hong looked at Wu Lingyu and Shimin Feng and smiled embarrassedly. Sima Yue understood and said, Aren't we preparing to leave? Feng, go and tell everyone to be prepared. We might leave at any time. Wu Lingyu and Shimin Feng were smart people. They immediately understood that Xiao Hong had something to say to Sima Yue. They agreed and left. I'll come and find you later, Wu Lingyu said gently to Sima Yue before he left. Okay. Xiao Hong looked at Wu Lingyu. Although he had put on makeup and she could not see what he looked like, his face was still so good-looking that people wanted to drool. His aura was still so attractive that people wanted to worship him. Ahem. Sima Yue saw Xiao Hong staring blankly at Wu Lingyu's back and pretended to cough to draw her attention back. Xiao Hong did not feel awkward about being caught. Instead, she laughed and said, I really envy you for having such a good partner. We can only watch from the side. Sima Yue was still a little annoyed that Xiao Hong looked at Wu Lingyu like that. She did not expect her to say it out so directly. That clean smile made her feel embarrassed. You said you had something to ask me. Can you say it now? Speaking of this, Xiao Hong's face flashed with an unnatural expression. She spun the teacup in her hands and said embarrassedly, I heard from the people in the Sky Heaven School that you're a very good doctor. I've learned a little, but it's not that good. Sima Yue did not expect her to say this and replied, That. Xiao Hong hesitated for a moment. Then, she seemed to gather her courage and said, That. I want you to take a look at my body. Is there anything wrong with your body? Sima Yue asked. You know that we blacksmiths have high requirements for our bodies. That's why I've also trained in some techniques to strengthen my body. Xiao Hong said. Sima Yue nodded in agreement. She did not need to guess to know that she had definitely trained in some techniques. Then what's troubling you? She asked. That's right. That I don't know if it's because I've been training in that, but I haven't had my period yet. Xiao Hong said, You know, there are very few doctors and even fewer female doctors. That's why I haven't seen anyone before. Sima Yue was a little surprised. Although 70 or 80 years old was not considered old in this continent, it was not normal for her to not have her period at this time. Give me your hand. Let me check. Xiao Hong placed her hand on the table. Sima Yue placed her hand on it and began to check. Xiao Hong saw that she was not speaking and did not dare to disturb her. However, she was getting more and more nervous. Her expression was not very relaxed. Was it very troublesome? The more she thought about it, the colder her heart became. Was she really not going to be a normal woman for the rest of her life? After a while, Sima Yue retracted her hand and said, I've basically grasped your situation. It's a little troublesome, but it's not like there's no way to solve it. Xiao Hong's heart rose and fell with her words. Hearing that her body could be saved, she grinned. Chapter 12:22. Sima Yue looked at the smile on her face and was a little stunned. She said, You don't even know what the method is, and yet you're so happy. What if it's difficult? No matter how difficult it is, there is still hope, right? Xiao Hong said with a smile. As long as there is hope. Sima Yue did not know what she had gone through. It must not have been anything good for her to be so desperate. Please search to see the most complete. Update the fastest. Although the process will be a little painful, there is good news. The pimples on your face will disappear completely, and your body will return to how it was before. Sima Yue said. The smile on Xiao Hong's face froze. What did you say? Your skeleton is not big, but your body is much stronger than others. I think this is because of the cultivation method you practice. Sima Yue said, If this is cured, your body will return to how it was before, but your strength will not decrease. The pimples on your face will naturally disappear. Although Xiao Hong's body was a little strong and her face looked a little scary because of the pimples, she would still be a beauty if those pimples were removed. How did you know? Xiao Hong looked at her blankly. I'm a doctor, so I got the information from your body. Sima Yue said, But there's a problem now. What? We have to go now, but it will take a long time to treat you. If we do it now and stop halfway, all our previous efforts will be in vain, Sima Yue said awkwardly. Time in the immortal land was so precious. The people of Heartbreak Valley would not stop because of her, and Sima Yue would not follow her. Even if there was a way, it could not be implemented now. Sima Yue thought that Xiao Hong would be put in a difficult position, but she did not expect her to answer without thinking. It's okay. We can follow you. Treating him on the road should be fine, right? Xiao Hong looked at her. She was afraid that she would refuse and not bring them along. If that happened, she would not be able to receive treatment. Sima Yue saw how confident she was and asked, Will the Armament Masters Guild agree? The vice president is a little cold. Is that okay? My father is cold and doesn't like to talk much, but he will still satisfy my request. Xiao Hong said, If he knows that this is to treat my illness, there will be no problem. Sima Yue's lips twitched. Vice President is your father? It seems like I was complaining just now, yeah. Xiao Hong smiled and said, I'm my father's youngest daughter. In order not to be looked at differently by others, I changed my name to my mother's surname. I see. Sima Yu's impression of her rose by quite a bit. Nowadays, which proud daughter of heaven didn't want to use their parents' names to strut around outside? It was really rare to see someone change their surname to prevent others from knowing their identity. This was enough to show that she had a good temperament. How is it? Is it okay if the weapon refiners people follow you? Xiao Hong asked carefully, afraid that she would be rejected. This should be okay too. Sima Yue said, I'm just afraid that it will delay your journey. It won't delay, it won't delay. My father and the rest were saying that since you're so powerful, it wouldn't be bad if they could get to know you. Xiao Hong said, Then it's settled. Let the people from our guild follow you, and you will treat my illness on the way. All right, Sima Yue replied. Anyway, the people from the academy and the Kong Valley were going to follow them. An additional Armament Masters Guild shouldn't be a problem. Moreover, she didn't have much contact with the Armament Masters Guild in the past. Now that she had the chance to interact with them, it wouldn't be bad to build a good relationship with them. Moreover, She wanted to learn how to refine armaments in the future. It would be good to have more contact with them. Then it's settled. I'll go back and tell my father. Xiao Hong wanted to get up and leave, but she suddenly thought of something and sat back down. She looked at Sima Yue and said, "Speaking of which, I still don't know how to treat it, and I don't know how long it will take." Sima Yue looked at her and laughed softly, saying, "I thought you wouldn't ask anymore. I was too excited just now." Xiao Hong said, "How do I treat this illness? You won't understand, even if I tell you how to treat it now. But I can tell you how long it will take. It will take as little as a few months and as long as a year or two. During the treatment, the process will be very painful, but once you embark on this path, you can't turn back. Otherwise, your body will be damaged, and you won't even be able to refine armaments in the future. So you have to think carefully." Sima Yue said as her expression became serious. Xiao Hong didn't expect it to be so difficult, but she only hesitated for a few seconds before asking, "Is it that as long as I persevere, there won't be any problems? As long as you persevere, I have the confidence to treat you." Sima Yue said confidently, "All right, no matter how difficult it is, I will definitely persevere." Xiao Hong said, "I'll go back and tell my father. If you agree, you can send someone over to say it. We will contact you when we leave." Sima Yue said, "All right, then I'll go back first. I'll send you." After sending Xiao Hong off, Sima Yue came back and saw Wu Lingyu waiting for her in front of the tent. "When are we leaving?" He walked over and gently held her hand. In the future, when they were with the big group, they would have less time to be alone. Thinking of this, he felt a little uncomfortable. "At least wait for the news from the Armament Masters Guild." Sima Yue pulled him into the tent. Wu Lingyu came to the chair and sat down, pulling her to sit on his lap while he wrapped his arms around her waist. Although the Armament Masters Guild won't do you any good when you learn to refine armaments, it's still good for the future development of Heartbreak Valley if you have a good relationship with them. "I think so too," Sima Yue said. "Although Heartbreak Valley's strength is not bad on the surface, it's better to have a good relationship with a big force like the Armament Masters Guild. Your luck here is almost done. You won't gain much later." Wu Lingyu said, "If you have to follow them all day, it's better to find a place to go into seclusion. You even know this? When did you become a divinator?" Sima Yue laughed and teased. "Although I'm not as good as Yin Lin in predicting things, I can still sense some things from looking at luck. After all, I used to be a demon king of a realm. If I can't even see this, then I don't need to live anymore." Wu Lingyu said, "Arrogant." Sima Yue poked his forehead, but didn't deny his words. Because it wasn't the first time she heard such words. Qing Yi said something similar before. A person's luck was limited. Her luck in the immortal land was almost used up. This book came from. Chapter 1223. Read 336. Very soon, news came from the Armament Masters Guild. He Qindong's trusted aide had sent a letter saying that he was willing to go with them. It seemed like the vice president really cared about his daughter. Thinking about it, who wouldn't like such a talented and low-key daughter? After a discussion, both parties decided to set off early the next morning. Thus, before the sun had even risen the next day, the people from the Armament Masters Guild had already arrived. Although the people in the Armament Masters Guild didn't know that Xiao Hong was the daughter of the Vice Pavilion Master, it didn't affect their love and care for her. When they heard that it was to treat her illness, everyone agreed to follow Sima Yue. In fact, they also wanted to get closer to the almost omnipotent and abnormally young guy. When they arrived, the people of Heartbreak Valley had not yet packed up, but fortunately, it was only some tents and the like which could be stored in the space ring. Before Qindong left, he met Sima Yue alone. Xiao Hong and the rest were worried that Qindong would anger Sima Yue and refuse to treat her. Everyone knew the temper of their president very well. Many people had been angered by him to the point of forming enmity with the Armament Masters Guild. Therefore, their worries were not unfounded. The longer they stayed in the tent, the more worried the people outside became. Just when everyone thought that something bad had happened, they saw Sima Yue and Qindong coming out of the tent together. What made the Armament Masters Guild even more surprised was that their vice president was actually smiling. The vice president, who is usually a man of few words, was actually smiling. This was simply strange. Sima Yue looked at everyone who was in a daze and asked, "What's wrong?" "Ahem, it's nothing." Xiao Hong said, "It seems that you guys are done packing. Can we go now?" The people from Heartbreak Valley moved quickly. They had already packed up while they were talking. After keeping Sima Yue's tent, the group of people found a random direction and moved forward. She sat on Choming's back with Sima Yue and the rest because she needed to treat Xiao Hong's illness. Sima Yue took her pulse again, then took out a pill for her. "Take this pill. I'll perform acupuncture on you tonight." "Acupuncture? What's that?" It was Xiao Hong's first time hearing about it, so she asked curiously. "You know tonight," Sima Yue said. "All right then." Xiao Hong swallowed the pill and waited for the night to come. If it was in the past, they would usually rest once every few days and would not stop to set up camp at night. However, the situation was different now. If he wanted to treat Xiao Hong's illness, he had to set up camp. Fortunately, Sima Yue's prestige in Heartbreak Valley was extremely high. Almost no one objected to what she said. Everyone got along well along the way. After setting up camp at night, Sima Yue brought Xiao Hong into the tent. After setting up a wizardry barrier, she asked Xiao Hong to take off her clothes. Take off my clothes?" Xiao Hong was stunned. "Do you need to take off my clothes to see a doctor?" She had never heard of it before. If she wasn't sure that Sima Yue was a girl, she would have gone berserk. Sima Yue prepared the silver needles. She turned around and saw that Xiao Hong was still in a daze. She said, "If you don't take off your clothes, how am I going to perform acupuncture?" Xiao Hong saw the long and thin needles in her hand and was shocked. She said in a daze, "Are you going to stab me?" "Of course." Sima Yue looked at her and asked curiously, "You can't be afraid, right?" "Cough, cough. It's fine if it's anything else. Seeing such a thin and dense thing, I'm a little scared." Xiao Hong admitted, "Don't worry. This is for acupuncture points. It won't hurt." Sima Yue said, "Really?" Xiao Hong did not believe it. "If it's fake, will you do it?" Sima Yue teased her. Xiao Hong's eyes flashed and then became determined. She said with a face that was ready to die, "Even if it really hurts, I won't be afraid. Come on." Sima Yue was amused by her expression. She smiled and said, "Then you have to take off your clothes first." It was the first time she had taken off her clothes in front of others. Xiao Hong was embarrassed. Luckily, Sima Yue left her a pair of underwear, which made her feel a little better. "Relax. Don't let your muscles tense up too much." Sima Yue saw that all her muscles were tense and patted her arm. Xiao Hong took 2 deep breaths and said, "Yue, if you wave a knife in front of me now, I wouldn't even blink. But this small thing, I've already tried my best to relax." Sima Yue understood what she meant. Some people were more sensitive to special things. Maybe others didn't think much of it, but to them, it was hard to accept. "Then do you want to close your eyes?" "Forget it. I'm afraid I'll be more scared if I close my eyes." Xiao Hong said, "Let me relax. I'll be fine in a while." "All right." Sima Yue wasn't in a hurry. She held the silver needles and chatted with her. "Can you tell me what the Armament Masters Guild is like?" "I've never entered the Armament Masters Guild before." "Armament Masters Guild? If there's anything, it's probably a large group of men." Xiao Hong said, "It's different from other guilds. There are very few women in our Armament Masters Guild. Most of them are men, and they're all smelly." "Is that so?" Sima Yue laughed. "Why haven't I noticed that your senior brothers are smelly?" "That's because they're not refining now," Xiao Hong said. "When they start refining, not only do they surround the furnace all day, they also have to polish the spirit weapons. They're sweating all the time, but they don't like to touch themselves, so they're smelly. Then how do you tolerate it?" Sima Yue asked. "I often don't notice it." Xiao Hong said, "If I start refining, I'll ignore everything around me." Xiao Hong started chatting nonstop, and she started to relax. Sima Yue took the chance when she wasn't paying attention and pricked her acupuncture points with the needles in her hands. Within a few breaths, she was pricked with a few needles. When Xiao Hong regained her senses, those needles were already pricked into her body. She said curiously, "It really doesn't hurt." I already said it doesn't hurt. Sima Yue said, "You're not afraid now, right? Then I'll continue." After experiencing it personally, Xiaohong was completely relaxed and allowed Sima Yue to prick her with the needles. There weren't many acupuncture points to be pricked on the first day, and it was over in half an hour. Xiaohong put on her clothes, and Sima Yue sent her out. She saw Wu Lingyu leaning against the tree trunk in a daze. His brows were slightly furrowed, as if something had happened. Sensing her coming out, he raised his head and nodded at her. It was rare that he didn't come over. Chapter 1224. Sima Yue looked at his serious expression. Something must have happened, but if he didn't say anything, she couldn't ask, because there was no point in asking. However, he had been spacing out more and more recently, most of the time during the day. It seemed that the matters outside were not easy to deal with. She walked over, took his hand, and accompanied him. After a while, he finally finished. He took her hand and asked, "How was it?" "It's all right. Although it's a little troublesome, it's not difficult to perform acupuncture." She smiled, thought for a moment, and asked, "Is it very troublesome over there?" "It's more troublesome than expected." Wu Lingyu said. "Lu Shitian seems to have sensed it. Recently, he has been wantonly slaughtering our people. After all, he was the current demon king, and the forces in his hands were not to be underestimated. We haven't gathered all of our men yet. In comparison, we've lost a lot of men. Then what should we do? Let them drag it out for the time being. If it really doesn't work out, we'll think of other ways." Wu Lingyu said, "If this continues, I might not be able to accompany you to the end of the immortal realm. You can leave in advance." Sima Yue felt that her question was unnecessary. Since he could communicate with the outside world, it would be easy for him to leave. "I can't do it now, but that won't be a problem for him," Wu Lingyu said. Sima Yue knew what he was talking about. When she thought of that terrifying existence, she felt relieved. Although she knew that he might leave early, she didn't expect that it would come so soon. In less than a year, he told her that he had to leave. They knew each other's strength, so they weren't very worried, but they were still reluctant. She had thought of going with him, but she couldn't let go of Heartbreak Valley. Moreover, Xiaohong's illness hadn't been completely cured, so she couldn't leave. The two of them stayed away from the group. They couldn't let them know about this yet. "Be careful when you go there. Don't let me worry here." She leaned into his embrace and gently urged, "For you, I won't let anything happen to me." Wu Lingyu hugged her. He was reluctant to leave, but the situation on the other side could not be delayed. "That's what you said. If I find that you're missing a piece here or there when we meet, I'll be angry." "Okay, I'll strip naked for you to check," Wu Lingyu said seriously. Sima Yue punched his chest. "You're so talkative. Let's find your parents as soon as possible. That way, we can get married sooner." Wu Lingyu rested his chin on her head and said, "Why go out this time? I might come into contact with the Sima family. When the time comes, we can ask Yinlin to see if we can get father's whereabouts." Sima Yue said, "But mother still has to go to the ghost realm. Sigh, it's really hard to bear." Wu Lingyu sighed. Although he knew that she was still young and had a lot of things to do, he just felt that time was too slow. It was too hard to wait. "When we go back this time, I'll ask the people in the ghost realm to try and see if they can find out your mother's whereabouts." "Okay," Sima Yue nodded. "But even cousin and the others can't find out. Can your people do it?" "We'll only know the result when we go back this time." Wu Lingyu said, "I wonder how the people who stayed in the ghost realm are doing now. I hope you get good news. That way, they could get married earlier." "Okay." She admitted that she also wanted to get married. The two of them stayed for a while. Wu Lingyu said reluctantly, "Okay, I have to leave. You have to be careful here." "I will, don't worry. I can't make you worry, right?" Sima Yue came out of his arms and said with a smile. Wu Lingyu pinched her face. He liked her personality. She was sensible and would cherish her own life for others. "I'm leaving." He covered her lips. After a while, he left reluctantly. "Go. The other side must be anxious." Sima Yue let go of him and took a step back. This was the longest time they had spent together. From the outside of the immortal land to here, after so many years, she was already used to having him by her side. Now that he was leaving, She was really not used to it. Wu Lingyu felt the same, but the other side couldn't wait. He could only make up his mind and let the demonic beast in the air tear open a passage and flew in. Sima Yue only saw the space being torn open and watched it slowly close, isolating them. She sighed in her heart. This time, they were really separated. She stayed in the same place for a while, calming herself down, then returned to the camp. When the people of Heartbreak Valley saw the two of them go out and she came back alone, they more or less understood. But they all thought that he had left the main group. They didn't know that he had already left the immortal land. Will he be okay leaving alone? And I saw that Sima Yue was in low spirits and said. Dai Yi, who was beside him, slapped his back and said, "When did you become interested in him? I'm just worried for Boss." Look, there's no smile on Boss's face. And E said, "The Holy Sun left. Of course, Boss will be sad for a while, but with Boss's battle power, he will recover quickly." Shurchin said, "Sai, we haven't met any big opportunities this year. Every time, it's just a small fight." And E said, "It's okay if it's a small fight. After all, we got a lot from the beginning." Shurchun was more open-minded about this. That's true. Xiao Hong walked over from afar and greeted everyone with a smile. Then, she went to Sima Yue's tent. And E and the others watched her walk past them. That graceful figure didn't look like the strong girl from the competition. Boss's medical skills are amazing. Even that ugly girl can become a fairy. And E exclaimed. "Then do you want to ask Boss to treat you?" Dai asked. "Me? I'm so handsome. Why would I need treatment?" And he narcissistically touched his chin. "We're talking about the head. But seeing you like this, Boss probably can't do anything." Shurchin said and left. He turned and went back to his tent. Third brother is right. Dai patted and Yi's shoulder and went back. And he blinked. After a while, he reacted. They were scolding him in a roundabout way. Xiao Hong entered Sima Yue's tent. Seeing that she was a little down, she said, "Are you okay?" "I'm fine. Come." Sima Yue took a deep breath. She got up and took out her silver needles. She casually set up a barrier and said, "Let's begin." Chapter 1225. As usual, Xiao Hong stripped naked and laid on the bed. After nearly a year of treatment, the teasing on her face had disappeared, and her skin had returned to its previous fair and smooth state. Please search to see the most complete. The swelling on his body had also disappeared, and even the muscles on his body had returned to their original state. However, her strength did not dissipate. She even felt that she was stronger than before. Sima Yue came to the bedside and said, "Today, we are going into the follow-up treatment. Every time we perform acupuncture, we have to prick all the major acupoints on your body. During this process, you must trust me unconditionally. If there is even the slightest bit of resistance, it will not be able to cure you completely. Do you understand?" "All right, do it, I won't move." Xiao Hong looked at her with trust. After interacting with her for so long, she already understood her and believed that she would be able to cure herself. "Then I'll start." As soon as Sima Yue started the acupuncture, she threw her emotions aside and focused all her energy on Xiao Hong. Xiao Hong was still a little nervous, especially when Sima Yue pierced her vital acupoints. If she didn't trust Yue, she wouldn't have been able to stay still. In the past, the acupuncture treatment took between half an hour to an hour, but this time, it took nearly 2 hours. By the time it was over, her face was covered in sweat. She wiped her sweat and told Xiao Hong that she was done. Then, she went to wash the silver needles. Xiao Hong put on her clothes and said, "The cold from before seems to have lessened quite a bit. My body isn't so stiff anymore. My body feels warm. The cultivation method you practiced didn't tidy up your meridians properly at the beginning, which resulted in your previous appearance. When your body is completely unblocked, you will naturally be fine." Sima Yue said, "We've been taking care of your body for so long. Now is the time for the main event. Thank you for your hard work." Xiao Hong said, "You treated me without asking for a reward. You even took so long." I don't know how to thank you. Who said I didn't ask for a reward? Sima Yue put away the silver needles and turned to look at her. Your father gave me a lot of benefits. My father gave it to you? What did he give you? Why haven't I heard you mention it before? Xiao Hong was surprised. Your father wants to love you in a low-key way, Sima Yue teased. You don't have to hide it from me, Xiao Hong said. But even so, I still have to thank you properly. Sure, I don't reject anyone, Sima Yue said with a smile. I need to go back and think about how to express my gratitude to you. Xiao Hong was very serious. Then I'll wait. I'll head back first. After Xiao Hong left, Sima Yue's heart, which had been busy the entire night, regained its calmness. She missed Xiao Hong like a spring. Sigh. It was better to find something to do. She muttered in her heart, and then took out the books on refining that she had obtained on the 4th floor of the Spirit Pagoda. Refining tools and alchemy were somewhat similar, at least in terms of controlling flames. She had seen Fatty Chu refine armaments before and had a certain level of understanding towards armaments refining, so it wasn't that difficult for her to understand these books. Moreover, she was only looking at some basic books, such as the one in her hand, which introduced various ores and raw materials for refining tools. Speaking of which, refining tools was different for her. For alchemy, she had the memories of her previous 2 lives, so it wasn't difficult for her to remember the ingredients. For beast tamers, she had the beast tamers that Wu Lingyu gave her. Everything came naturally to her. For array masters, she was extremely talented, and she had the array masters that Wu Lingyu found for her. For spirit seekers, although there was only one, the origin of spirit seekers, they didn't need to remember countless raw materials. Therefore, refining tools was still the most difficult for her, and the most difficult part wasn't the later stages of refining, but the accumulation of basic knowledge and understanding of the raw materials in the early stages. As long as she could pass this stage, the later stages of refining would be easy for her. The days after Wu Lingyu left seemed to have lost something for her. Even if her daily life was the same as before, she still felt empty in her heart. Only when she was treating Xiao Hong, she was able to muster up all her energy. However, this was soon gone as well. Her treatment of Xiao Hong ended a few months later, and He Qindong and Xiao Hong expressed their gratitude to her and invited her to be a guest at the Armament Masters Guild, and so on, before leaving with the people from the Armament Masters Guild. All right, now the only thing that could lift her spirits had ended, and she followed the group everywhere and was extremely free. It seemed that the next few years were the most leisurely time for her, as she just followed them everywhere. And when there was an opportunity, she would snatch it. And when there was no opportunity, she didn't read anything and just wandered around, feeling extremely relaxed. In the past, she was busy every day, but now that she was free for a few years, she wasn't used to it. So when she saw a place that could be used for cultivation, she chose to stay behind and go into closed-door cultivation. After leaving the method of contact, Shimin Feng brought the others and continued walking. The cultivation place was at the crater of a dormant volcano, and Sima Yue set up an array at the entrance of the cave and jumped in. She looked around, and the fire elements here were abundant, which was very suitable for her cultivation. So she found a suitable spot and started to concentrate on her cultivation. Cultivation had no concept of time, and she didn't know how long she had stayed here, but what woke her up from her cultivation was the closing of the immortal realm. She released the array and flew into the air and felt a gust of energy sweeping across her body. Following that, a space passage appeared above her head, sucking her in. Sima Yue felt a wave of dizziness, and she had no choice but to close her eyes, and by the time she heard the sound of her falling onto the ground, she was already outside. "Who is this? Why did you fall onto the ground?" A voice was heard from above her head, and she raised her head to look, only to see Third Mo's annoying smiling face. "Why are you here?" She got up from the ground and patted the dust off her skirt. "I just came out from inside and didn't expect to end up together with you. I heard a lot about you inside, but it's a pity that I didn't get to meet you." Third Mo said. "I thought you didn't go." Sima Yue said. "You always appear and disappear unpredictably." She rubbed her arm and suddenly went into a daze. Then her expression changed, and she hurriedly checked her pulse. Third MO saw that her expression wasn't right, and kept his smile, asking, "What's wrong?" Sima Yue looked at him, her face full of shock. Third MO hadn't seen her like this ever since they reunited, and suddenly became nervous. "What's wrong?" Sima Yue's body swayed, and said, "I can't use the spiritual energy in my body this book came from." Chapter 12:26. Read 336. Third MO was shocked when he heard her words. He took 2 steps forward and grabbed her wrist to feel it. Sure enough, he couldn't feel any spiritual energy fluctuations from her. How could it be gone? "Are you injured in there?" He probed again, but the result was the same. However, other than falling down when she came out, there were no other injuries on her body. How could her spiritual power disappear just like that? "When I came out, I was in seclusion. At that time, my spiritual energy was still fine. Why did it disappear after coming out?" She was a little incredulous. This was too strange. This was too horrifying. "Don't worry. We don't know what's going on with you. Go ask Lin." Third MO said, "He should know what's going on." "Okay." Sima Yue suppressed the fear in her heart and tried to calm herself down. At this moment, 2 people flew over from afar and stopped in front of them. They bowed to Sima Yue and said, "Miss Yue, our sect master has asked us to bring you over." Sima Yue recognized their attire. It was similar to what Lin was wearing. Knowing that he sent people over, she remembered that he said he would welcome her when she came out. She nodded and said, "Coincidentally, I also have something to ask him. Please lead the way." Because it was him, it was not surprising that he knew she would be here after coming out. The 2 men flew them for about an hour and finally arrived at the mountain where they had entered the Wonderland. Lin stood at the peak of the mountain. The wind blew his silver hair and white clothes. His pale side profile made him look as though he would ascend to immortality at any moment. The child, who had already grown up, stood beside him, his eyes flashing with great worry. Sima Yue and Third MO walked over. When he saw Sima Yue, joy flashed across Xiao Tong's eyes. It was as if she had brought him hope. Lin turned around, looked at her, and said with a faint smile, "You're out." "You don't look well," Sima Yue said. "Cough, cough." Lin coughed, and Xiao Tong hurriedly went forward to support him. He waved his hand, indicating that he was fine, but his increasingly pale face said otherwise. Sima Yue did not know how to help. They were not familiar with each other to the point where she could treat him directly. Moreover, according to Wu Lingyu's words, they had to pay for what they obtained. This was the way of the heavens, and it was not something she could change by herself. "Did you calculate something that went against the heavenly Tao again?" she asked. "The last time there was an unforeseen event in the immortal land. Master calculated and did not want to suffer such serious injuries. It had been more than 10 years. "I don't see any better," Xiao Tong replied. "So serious? Is there no way to treat it?" Sima Yue asked. "This is the reincarnation of the heavenly Tao," Lin said indifferently. He wasn't too worried about his body. There was also a strong sense of helplessness in his voice. "Since this is the reincarnation of the heavenly Tao, then there should be a way." Sima Yue said, "You guys paid the price with your lives because you lost the initiative. But just like gold, wood, water, fire, and earth, even if they counter each other, they can also help each other. There is indeed, but it is not so easy to obtain. At least, it is not something that can be solved with ordinary medical skills." Lin said, "At least there is a way, then we can try." Sima Yue said. Lin smiled and did not talk about this topic anymore. Which divinator in the past had not tried? But those things were so hard to find. Almost all of them were in legends. So who could really find them? After a long time, the desire to find them faded. "Let's not talk about this. Let's talk about your situation. Don't you have something to ask me?" Lin smiled and asked. "You know?" Sima Yue was slightly surprised. "Your body is already not good. If you calculate this, your body will not be able to hold on for long, right? Something that has already happened." I just need to sense it, and I will know. It won't cost much, so it's fine. Lin said indifferently. Sima Yue looked at Xiao Tong. His expression did not change, which meant that he was really fine. Then what's going on with me? Why was I fine inside, but when I came out, why can't I use my spiritual energy? Because you have obtained too much. Lin said. You brought out the living beings inside and changed the entire world's future. Naturally, you will be punished by the heavens. Sima Yue was shocked. He even knew about this, but she didn't know if he was talking about Qing, Yi, or Blood Demon. Then can I still recover? She asked. If she couldn't recover, then wouldn't she be like a cripple in the future? Of course you can recover. Lin said, this is just a punishment for you, not to kill you. Otherwise, you won't be able to come out of this wonderland. Then how long will it take? Third Mo asked. Sima Yue was also concerned about this, but Lin shook his head. He said, I don't know about this. Your fate chart is too strange. I can't calculate any useful information from you using the same method that I used on normal people. If I insist on calculating, I'm afraid that my broken body, then don't calculate it. Sima Yue said, since it will recover, it's just a matter of time. If I knew earlier, I wouldn't have let it recover earlier. Lin smiled. She was indeed not a normal girl. At first, she was panicking, but after knowing the reason, she calmed down and saw through this matter clearly. Although I can't predict when you will recover, I can tell you that the heavens don't look at time. It only looks at Tao. Maybe you will be able to use it tomorrow, or maybe it will take a few years. There is no time limit. It only depends on the will of the heavens. Lin said. Then is there anything that can make it unseal me earlier? Sima Yue asked. You will have to figure it out yourself. All right. No matter if he didn't know or wasn't willing, she probably wouldn't be able to get anything out of him. How are you doing with the matter I entrusted you with? Lin didn't talk about this anymore, and asked about the matter he entrusted her with before entering the Wonderland. Are you talking about the cleanest water? Sima Yue took out a few jars of water that she found when she was traveling in the Wonderland and said, the cleanest water, there is no standard. I don't know what kind you want, so I brought a few. Lin looked at them one by one and shook his head. Needless to say, these weren't the cleanest water he was talking about. Is this all? He raised his head and asked softly. So many, but none of them are correct. Sima Yue was a little disappointed. She would bring a jar of clear water back when she saw one, but she didn't expect that none of them were correct. These jars of water do look very clean, but I didn't say it. If you don't have anything else, then I can't tell you about your father. To be continued. Chapter 12:27. Wait, I have something else. Take a look and see if it works. Sima Yue kept the water and took out a spirit stone that contained a few drops of tears and handed it to Lin. Lin found it strange when he saw her take out the spirit stones. Was this also water? But when he reached out to touch the spirit stone, his body shook, and for the first time, an expression of shock appeared on his calm face. Xiao Tong had been with him for so many years, but this was the first time he had seen him like this. He asked in surprise, Master, what is this? Love stone. Lin calmed himself down. This is a love stone. It contains the purest water in the world. When the little boy heard about the love stone, he became excited and said, Master, is this the legendary love stone? Yes, it's the one we've been looking for. Lin said, I had a premonition that you would find the cleanest water, but I didn't expect you to bring this out. Sima Yue looked at their expressions and said, Is this thing very precious? It might not be much to you guys, but to us divinators, it's something more important than our lives. Lin said, With it, we might be able to change Xiao Tong's fate. This thing can change fate? Sima Yue and Third Mo were very surprised. That fingernail-sized rock in Lin's hand could change the fate of a divinator? No, Master, this is for you. Little Two said, I won't use this. Little Two, you have only been a divinator for a short period of time, so the damage to your body is still small. You also have a long time in the future, so this will be more useful to you. Lin said, Master is already like this. Giving this to me is also a waste. But Master, this can heal the injuries in your body. Little Helper said. Master has already made up his mind. Lin's attitude was very firm. He didn't allow Little Helper to go against his wishes. The child turned his pleading gaze to Sima Yue and said, Miss Yue, you're the one who found this. Please persuade Master. His body can't drag on any longer. Sima Yue only realized that this was very important to them when she saw them arguing. Otherwise, they wouldn't have pushed each other away. Lin, is this considered clean water? Forget it. This is what I was hoping you would find. Lin said. Then the deal you mentioned before, is it a done deal? Sima Yue asked again. Established. Then the news about my father, now is not the best time to give you this news. When the time is right, I will naturally tell you the news. Lin said. Sima Yue's eyes widened. What? He still had to wait for the right opportunity? Lin chuckled. Don't worry, I won't go back on my word. On the contrary, other than telling you his whereabouts, I will also tell you a key condition to find him. Then why can't you tell me now? If I tell you now, will you go immediately? Lin asked. Sima Yue was stunned. He was right. If he had told her, even if she could not use her spiritual power, she would have rushed over immediately. But Sima Yue was a little unwilling. If she could get news about her father earlier, she might be able to find him earlier. You want to say that even if you don't go, your uncles can go, right? Lin said. Sima Yue nodded. Uncle Lu Feng and Uncle Lu Yun have been looking for my father for so many years. If I tell them the news, they can go and find him first. It's useless even if they get the news. They can't go to the place where your father is. Lin said. Only you can save your father there. They can only be your support. There was such a saying. She sighed inwardly and said, Then when can you tell me? When the time is right, I will tell you. Lin said. Really, talking to these people was just like the monk in her previous life. They loved to talk in riddles and talk about opportunities and opportunities. Miss Yue. Little Helper saw that Sima Yue was only talking to his master about this and did not persuade him at all. He was anxious at the side. Sima Yue recalled that when she went in, he was still a child. When she came out, he was already an adult. She instantly felt emotional. Can I ask, what is the use of this for you? It can heal the injuries in your body. I already know about this. Lin was silent for a while and said emotionally, As everyone knows, our bodies get injured because we predict the future. One is our body, the other is our heaven's eye. Heaven's eye? Sima Yue blinked her eyes. She did not see them having a third eye. Naturally, you can't see this normally. Lin saw her expression and chuckled. After explaining, he continued, Just as you said, there are things that reinforce and counteract each other. There are indeed things that can heal the injuries in our bodies. This love stone is one of them. You said that this might be able to change Little Helper's fate. What do you mean? All the strength of us divinators and the injuries we receive are all through the heaven's eye. The more the heaven's eye sees, the greater the injuries to the body. Little Helper's heaven's eye has just been opened. The injuries to his body are still very light. If you apply the love tear on his heaven's eye, it will be able to heal the injuries it brings. Lin explained. Master, I will not use this. Little Helper said, If you don't use it, I won't use it either. Why don't we return it to Yue? Nonsense. Lin scolded. Although we divinators have received the blessings of the heavens, we have paid a painful price. Now that we can finally change your life, how can you give up so easily? It was Little Helper's first time seeing his master angry. It was also the first time he was scolded by him. He felt wronged and turned his head to the side without saying a word. Sima Yue did not expect that someone like Lin would get angry. Looking at the atmosphere between the two of them, she sighed in her heart. It was all for the good of each other. Lin, don't be angry. You're thinking for his own good. Isn't he thinking for you too? She opened her mouth to persuade. If he really wants to take it for himself and use it to change his fate without caring about your life, then is he still Little Helper? Little Helper bit his lower lip. That's right. Lin's expression softened. Looking at little helper's stubborn face, he let out a long sigh. The two of you don't have to be angry. It's not like there's no way to solve this problem. Seema US said and took out another 2 love stones. You're tuning into the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.